Hello, welcome to Indie Plus Game Nights for November 2014. We are playing Of Dreams and Magic. This is a pretty cool sort of modern fantasy RPG that's currently being kickstarted, and we're gonna sort of learn to play it, show you how to play it, and run through a sample adventure here. And before we get started, I should note that um, this event upholds the Indie Plus community standards, and you can find out more about those by Googling Indie Plus community standards. Basically, we hope to make these events, especially the public events like this one, comfortable for everybody, and everybody can participate. And also with that in mind, this adventure that we're going to be doing features some violence, and it deals with some mental illness. And there's also sort of the starting event is that this teenager is found murdered. And so we're going to be investigating that kind of stuff. If any of that stuff turns you off, then you should check out some of the other videos that Indie Plus is putting out as part of this game night thing. So with that said, let's introduce everybody. I'm Aaron Fields. I work with Indie Plus to do these games in the bar and other public events. And I also am a longtime GM and player of many different kinds of games, mostly story games and stuff like that. And what about you, Unwritten Art?
I am Unwritten Art. I like role-playing games. Always love jumping into a new system, and I will be playing William, or Billy, the Monster Hunter today.
And I'm Andrea. I play all the games, a lot of them here on Indie Plus. I'm going to be playing Jerry, the Eldritch Knight.
I am John Borgese. I am one of the founders of Odam Publishing, who makes this game that we are about to demo tonight. And I will be telling the story for everyone.
Very cool. Okay, yeah, and John, why don't you tell us about, what's the premise of the game and what is the deal? Who are our characters in that?
Okay, so I'll give you the quick and dirty so as to not draw it out too much. Of Dreams and Magic is a game that is set in what we call a modern fantasy. Essentially, it follows players portraying characters called Anima. And these Anima are people who have learned to see past a omnipresent nemesis called the Doubt. The premise here is that the Doubt is an entity of mystic origin that prevents mankind from believing in anything that isn't ordinary or mundane. So these players get to play Anima, people who through their dreams have seen past the Doubt's oppression and are now aware of the fact that they can make magic real, that anything is possible if they're able to dream it. So today we're going to tell a short story that is supplied on our Kickstarter that's currently running and through our website, odampublishing.com. You can download the free PDF and you could read the sample rules we supply. And you can also, if you choose and want to reuse the story, the PDF includes the actual story, Beast at the Door, which, as was mentioned, handles a group of young Anima on their first case for a form of law enforcement for Anima Society. This DCMA is the name of the agency, and these three characters will be going to investigate the death of a teenage boy in a small suburban town called Norfolk. That's the premise, if you will, of what you're going to experience tonight.
All right, yeah, and the Kickstarter should be linked in the description of this event, so I urge you to check it out and take a look at the beta rules, the sample rules. It's great stuff. So I guess we'll just introduce the characters a little bit from here. So I'll be playing Nikki Meeks, who is, let's see, stoic, confident, fiercely passionate about her job and her team. Yeah. So I tend to find myself guiding my fellow agents with a strong hand. but I really try to bring out the best in people. So kind of athletically built with a long blonde ponytail and ice blue eyes. And my animus, by the way, is a cybernetic law enforcement officer, kind of a sci-fi, modern police officer type person. That's how I first slew the doubt in my dreams, and so that's who I manifest as when I bring my dreams to reality.
Correct.
Cool.
All
What
right.
about you, Unwritten?
Well, I will be playing Billy, who, when he manifests himself, he appears as a monster hunter. He is the youngest member of the team, and because of this, he is always looking for an opportunity to prove himself to the other two.
Correct.
And that leaves Jerry. Jerry is a former biker who he's kind of rough around the edges. He's confident, he's brash, but he's also tall, dark, and handsome. And his anima is he's an eldritch knight with a shield and everything.
That sums it up.
Nice.
So why don't we get into the preface of the actual story? I'll get us started. So basically, for those who are possibly watching and haven't actually read the PDF material, the start of Beast at the Door follows the premise that these three characters have willingly signed up to become members of the DCMA. In Anima society, the DCMA operates as both an outreach program, trying to contact new Anima and help them cope with the realization that they're not crazy, and that magic is real, and that their dreams are causing these effects to their world. As you would imagine, that could be very challenging on a person, especially if everyone they know and love doesn't see what they see. And the second function, of course, for the DCMA is to act as a form of peacekeeper. You can't expect local law enforcement to control or punish a guy who can walk through walls, or change facts, or use magic in general. So the idea for the DCMA is to work as both, to both reach out to their fellow Anima, and to ensure that they abide by respectable rules and not be a disruption to others by cheating the system with their magic. So Beast at the Door has these three characters, Billy, Nikki, and Jerry, on their first field assignment, and they are going to investigate the death of a boy named Peter Kozlov. And that's pretty much where we're going to start off. If you'd like, I can give you guys, the players, your actual first little bit of information, and we can raise the curtain when you're ready.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So let me fill you in case, as Unwritten Law had mentioned prior, he didn't have as much time as obviously someone like me has to look at the material. So let me fill you in a little bit. What you guys know and the important information. The DCMA sent you here for the boy Peter Kozlov, and according to police files, Peter Kozlov was killed by a stray dog attack 2 weeks prior to the start of the story. The attack took place on September 20th off the corner of Willow Street and Emery Place. Now, the DCMA's suspicion of possible magic involvement stems from some wild inconsistencies found in several of the eyewitness testimonies. So basically, a bunch of children on their way home from school witnessed a dog attack, air quotations and all. Unfortunately, when each of them gave their account for the event, none of them could recall anything the same way. Some of the children described the attacking dog as large or small. Some even mentioned that it wasn't a dog and it was a wolf. Now, it's common in violent scenarios for people to not exactly be accurate with their recollections, but these were too out of place and too different for the DCMA to look the other way. Furthermore, the medical examiner had a report full of really strange, incongruous details. Despite the absurd size and severity of this boy Peter's lacerations, the examiner illogically came to the conclusion that a household breed of dog could easily have done it. obviously not the case. But that is common for the doubt's handiwork. For those who it subsumes, it changes what they see and coaxes their mind to look the other way so that they know of nothing that isn't ordinary. Obviously, the DCMA felt that maybe the doubt had a hand in what this report turned up and how this boy was killed. So you guys are here to look into it further. Now, to preface that, the agents, the three of you, were informed specifically by your senior officer prior to being sent here that you are not to make contact with any of the children initially that gave testimony or with law enforcement, specifically because they're operating under the radar a little bit here. They don't legally have some form of jurisdiction to go meddling around, and questioning a bunch of kids draws attention, requires parental consent, the kind of things they want to avoid if they could do this quietly without notice. And furthermore, your cover story for this case is that you're, if need be, working for the federal government, investigating a possible link to other crimes. A baloney story, if you will, but one that will hold without intense scrutiny. So your senior agent probably told you, listen, flash a badge if you have to, tell them this or that, but don't push it too far where anyone's going to think that you're going to get out of the jail time over this, or that you're going to be able to, you know, bamboozle your way into an official office of some kind. So that's pretty much where you stand at the moment, and what the objective here is, to poke your nose around and see if you can find out what happened without causing too much commotion, if at all possible.
Okay. And where are we again? We're in some...
You're in a small suburban town called Norfolk, just outside of Chicago proper.
How did we get to this town? Did someone drive? Did you take the bus? Or...
Yes, you actually have a car that's a rental car in the DCMA's employ, essentially. So you'll have free transportation of your own, and you will have falsified documents, if you will, that you want to play that scam of being a Fed. But like they had told you, be careful with those kind of shenanigans.
Okay.
If you'd like, I can start the actual story with the very first scene, which is going to be you checking in from the hotel room.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any prior questions or anything they'd like to know before we get started?
I forgot to point out that Nikki was actually a New York City police officer in real life before she became a DCMA officer. So she's pretty experienced with this kind of investigation as well.
Nikki is the heart and soul, if you will, of the team, making sure that the boys keep themselves in line and do what it is they're supposed to without getting into too much trouble.
All right. All right. So here's how it is. You know, we gotta keep it undercover here. No flashy stuff. All right.
If you say so. I mean, we can do it your way. I mean, you're the one who knows what we're doing here, so.
That's right. That's right.
Billy's
By the book.
Billy's laptop is open here in the motel room, and you're awaiting your check-in call from your senior agent. So let's assume that the three of you here in the small room have already had all of your takeout. You've taken what little belongings you brought with you and laid them about. You're kind of antsy, maybe a little excited to get started, since technically it's your first time on your own in the field. So when the beep begins for the call, maybe Billy just a tad quicker than anticipated hits that accept button, quick and in a hurry. And there you're going to see Senior Agent Eric Masters. He's not a day over 30. He wears a pinstripe charcoal gray suit. He has neatly cut brown hair. It's swept over to the side. Gives him that modern male business look. He gives you a little nod, but he avoids his signature grin, probably because of the somber business you're here in Norfolk for. So he kind of leans in to look at you and tells you, "All right, guys, I forwarded you all my notes on the report that we have for this investigation. Remember what you've learned, and I have no doubt I'll be signing your recommendations when this is all over. Technically, you have 3 hours before you're required to check in with me. I hope you have something before then. Just give me a call when you make your first contact and you've established a suspect.
All right. We are on the case, sir.
That's what I like to hear. I hope this goes smoothly for all of us.
Now, don't worry, it will. We got this.
We'll see. Keep me posted. Don't make me have to call you itching for information, please.
No, we'll be right on that, sir. We're on the case. We got this.
I'll speak to you after. He just punches the disconnect button.
Well, that went well. So, what do we do now?
Guess that's up to our fearless leader.
All right. We're gonna go check out the scene of the crime. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Oh wait, there's also the victim or whatever is like in the hospital, right, or something like that.
Peter himself died from the attack, so he's been dead for 2 weeks. But the scene of the crime can be investigated beyond conventional means, given what's at your disposal. So it's not an unfair thing to want to check out.
Yeah, we'll go there first and see if we can't find something that the police missed.
Okay. So let's take care of that. Let's assume that, given the zeal that Billy has already exhibited, let's assume that the three of you make a quick work to the door, get yourselves in the car, and head on over to the scene of the crime. Now, it's not a terribly long trip, and it would probably be a relatively uneventful one, since no one wants to betray just how excited they are about all of this. And to keep in mind that it's somewhat a somber duty that's being done here. But there at the scene of the crime is a stark contrast to what you should anticipate. I mean, this is a murder scene, but 2 weeks passed already. And here on the corner of Emory, there's nothing to indicate the kind of morbid event that took place here so shortly ago. There's not even a stain on the ground, no police tape. Here we're out in suburbia, prime middle America real estate, if you will, with nothing particularly obtuse or overly gaudy, just quiet residential area. And at this particular hour, maybe 2:15 in the afternoon, there aren't a whole lot of faces out in the street. Nobody's sitting out on their porches, no kids roaming around on the street corner. It's just the three of you, the car parked over to the side, and otherwise simple-looking street corner.
So what's the layout of the land? Are we just in suburbia? Are we around a lot of houses? Is there woods nearby? Or
this particular area, the scene of the crime, is very heavily residential. It's actually part of the route that this boy that was killed was taking on his way home. He actually walks from the school to his home. And it's common because so much of this residential area is extremely close, literally walking distance from the high school they all attend. So the actual crime did happen during that transition of them walking home. So you could put that into perspective, if you will, the type of area you're in. No commercial buildings or any of that, just homes, as far as the eye can see.
Okay. And let's see. So as we drive up, I'm gonna have us, kind of park on the side of the street here and get out, and I just want to, get a sense of exactly where this creature came from. Like which direction, where was Peter coming from, and kind of walk it out a little bit, and
Right.
just see what's going on. And is there some way of like detecting magic or some
Glad you
kind
brought
of
that up.
some such thing?
Something native to Anima, something that each of them, by virtue of what they are, they can do, is called dream walking. Now, in a normal sense, an Anima takes things from their dream and brings it into the waking world. whether it be a physical object in some rare cases, or whether it be a magic that they're able to reproduce, like each of you able to reconjure, if you will, your dream selves. In this particular case, Anima are capable of something else as well. They're capable of taking the world around them and bringing it with them into their dreams. They call that dream walking. Essentially, they put their body to sleep and then walk this waking world as if it was a dream. It allows them to see things through a dreamer's lens instead of through their normal eyes. It sometimes will expose the kind of effect that other people's dreams have had on the world around them. So it's a useful tool in their case to look for additional information like what you're talking about, or possibly interact with the world in rare cases, or even step into other people's dreams.
Okay. Well, I think probably be Billy here, who's a monster hunter in his dreams. He seems like the most appropriate one to see if we can find any tracks or other indication.
Go sniffing around.
I thought you'd never ask. Leave this one to me. All right.
All right.
I
Just
don't know how this looks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just gonna take a nap in the car, and me and Jerry will keep an eye out here for any approaching suburbanites.
Okay, so I just try to get comfortable, take my coat, lump it up as a pillow, lay back, go to drift away.
Very good. Now for the Anima, this will take an exertion of something we call conviction. Conviction is their form, their metric, to show just how much fight they have left in them to keep breaking the doubt. Using magic, dream walking, each of those things takes a certain amount of their conviction to accomplish, and when the conviction runs dry, they're just flat out exhausted. Now for the purposes of this story, you would be hard-pressed to run into that issue, but I should make a note of it for those viewing and for those playing, in case you're curious exactly how the mechanics would be working. So in this particular case, Billy clumps himself up a nice makeshift pillow, puts his head back so it looks like a teenage boy that's had a little too much fun into the wee hours and is ready to conk out in the car if need be. And that's exactly what he does. Nikki takes a critical eye to the corner, hoping that her old instincts will maybe reveal something that the crew of locals missed. And Jerry probably is mildly amused at how efficient and devoted his teammates seem to be. That said, Billy, for you, things are going to change rather quickly. As soon as you make the conversion to your dream walking, you're going to find this street corner very different than it is in the waking world. Whereas a minute ago, you were sitting in a car in the middle of the day, sun out, fair weather, clear sky, no souls but you visitors to be seen. Here on the corner, you may still be the only person around, but that's about the only detail that's the same. The sky is overcast, dark in a way that isn't even probably natural. Overcast, yes, but there's a film to the view, almost as if things are tainted and darkened a bit. And worse than that, it's cooler, and the wind seems to howl a bit in your ears, almost as if it's carrying some far-off noise, and it's just loud enough to hear, but not loud enough to be clear in what that noise was. But that's not the worst of it. More than the disturbing setting is simply the street corner itself. There, in the middle of the street, taking up, dominating, if you will, the center of the area, is a thick, inky, viscous fluid spread out like a pool, stretching almost from corner to corner. And that slick, if you will, is probably the worst part of the scene, because there on the far corner, all the way by Emery Place, the liquid actually spreads to the curb and climbs up it, which is a little unnatural for liquid.
Okay, so it's climbing up a building?
Up the actual curb onto the side.
Okay. All right. Have I ever seen this black substance, this eerie black substance? Have I ever seen anything like that before?
In your training, it's very common to hear that living nightmares, things that they call Reavers, agents, if you will, of the doubt, will sometimes leave residue when they commit terrible things. Now, is that the possibility here? It's possible. Are you sure that it was an actual Reaver that did this? Maybe not. This could be the effect of someone performing magic. I guess the real truth, and the thing that Billy will be certain of immediately, is whether it was a nightmare that did this or not, one thing is certain. Something bad did happen here, and a boy did die, but it was done with malice. This wasn't an accident. Whatever caused this kind of stain was angry and unpleasant. Enough so to leave the stink of its mark behind.
Okay, I'm going to put one hand on my sword, and I'm going to approach this black mist, just trying to get a little bit closer to it and see if I can pick up anything on it. But weapons ready, just in case something happens.
So,
why go back and get the others? I'm young, I know what I'm doing.
Adventurous, invulnerable, sounds
Yeah.
about teenage to me, right? We all know that. So, let's, for the sake of clarity, assume that you would use the further conviction to invoke your actual animus.
All right.
Just to be fair, because for those watching, they'd want to know what's actually happening behind the scenes.
I'm nice.
And
So-
you would
so
do
we
just
enter-
that. Approach the oil slick, if you will, and see that it isn't quite oil, and it isn't blood. It is some strange amalgamation of the two, if you will. And the worst part is that as you get closer to the actual pool, the noise in your ears is growing, and you realize that it isn't so much speech or the wisping of the wind, but almost like a growling. And the worst part about it is that it's not directional. The first thing that points out to Billy in his keen monster hunter senses, if you will, is if it was a beast and it was something tangible, you would know it was to your right or to your left. You would know it was closer behind you instead of in front of you. But this noise is just present, almost like the soundtrack in a movie, simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, just present. And that growling sound is slowly getting louder as you get closer and closer to the actual pool, and it leaves a less than comforting feeling in your stomach.
I'm going to stop right where I'm at, not take any more steps closer, and just be like, is anyone there? Is anything here?
Just the persistent growling, volume changing and stopping as you stop your movement.
So it's pitch stopped. It didn't stop, but the pitch stops right where it's at.
Correct.
Okay. I put up one hand. I'm taking a couple more steps closer. I'm very worried now. Like he's bothered by this, but he feels like he can't just back down yet. He's got to get some bit of information before he runs back. He can't make it look like he's just running back right away.
He'll step closer and closer, each step calculated, each step testing a little bit more his bravery, maybe his commitment to this whole DCMA mania. And then the growl gets loud enough that it seems for a moment it is actually over his shoulder. It is actually there, but only for a second. And as soon as he turns his head and his whole body tenses, prepared, it stops. And there's just quiet.
The whole thing.
Just silence.
Okay. Well, I'm going back. I'm telling the others. So yeah, whatever I have to do to wake up, I am doing that. Running right back to the locations, whatever I need to do.
Billy has had enough, and fortunately for him, for Anima, when they dreamwalk, it is at their will that they can wake up. It is a artificially created sleep, and they can just as easily end it if they'd like. So you will just leap awake, if you will, in the car.
Yeah, just like, kind of like out of the back seat. Be like, whatever it was dark, guys. This thing, it was intentional. It was dark. I got and he's just going on because this is his first time having an experience like this. He's trying to play it cool, but you can tell he's getting a little more worried. He's like, guys, it was like this growling, and it was like this black mist, and it was intense. I mean, it was like the most intense thing I can't even.
Jerry will be
bad.
immediately reminded of so many outlaws and criminals that he's had his dealings with, and know that first time they did something that tested them a little, that look, that sheen of sweat on their forehead, that a little bit over anxious zeal. Billy's got all the markers. This kid definitely was frightened by whatever he saw.
All right, good job, kid. And he'll reach down and grab like a bottled water and toss it to him.
Okay, thank you. And he'll just start drinking it. So what now, boss? I mean, what do we do?
Well, did you get a sense of what kind of creature this was?
Evil? I mean, I didn't really, I don't know. I'm not an expert on these things. It was kind of growling. It was dark. There was this black substance. I mean, you can go check it out if you want. I'm not really sure what it is. It might have been a Reaver, or at least someone using magic.
Okay. I suppose the police probably talked to anybody who saw anything, right? It was just these
Sure.
kids.
Sure.
But we're not supposed to talk to the kids.
Yeah, it's unfortunately a legality issue. The DCMA feels like you can't hide interrogating children. No matter how pleasant or well-mannered your questioning may be. And Nikki feels the pressure. Yes, being out in the field without a senior officer telling you what to do.
That's
Everyone looking at you, all eyes on you.
Billy's worried eyes on you.
That's right.
Okay, well, I'm gonna fall back on New York City cop instincts. Although I wasn't a detective per se, I picked up a few tricks, and it's usually if it's a violent crime, it's it tends to be somebody close to them, like somebody they knew, or somebody who have a reason to do it. It's rarely just a random act. So we need to talk to Peter's parents or something like that. Somebody would know, like,
Now,
why it is,
perhaps I
why
can help Nikki with this.
yeah.
You're 100% right with the cop instinct. That this is something Nikki's been down this road before, but
Yeah.
you have one limiting factor. They don't
Yeah.
want you getting involved with parents because they ask questions, and questions that are hard to answer. However, there's one place you could always count on to find people that know the dirt, if you will, about
Okay.
a young teenage man. And you could go sniffing that route. It was even mentioned in your report notes from your senior officer. And that would probably be the best place to go.
All right. Yeah. And he was walking home at the time, right?
Correct.
From school. All right. So we're gonna go down the road to this school next.
How old was this kid again?
Peter was a senior in high school.
Okay. Add that
Okay.
to my notes.
But he must have lived close enough to the school to walk.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you'd like, the three of you could literally walk on over, or you could get back in the car and drive the rest of the distance. That's your call.
Yeah, I'd rather stay with a car. That's my feeling.
Okay. So the team's going to pile back in.
I never left.
So the crew will get on board. Now, fortunately, like we mentioned, it would literally be walking distance. So you're talking, a minute at most in the car. The problem, however, is when you left the actual hotel room, you were talking about 2:15, and after a short drive from there and a little bit of napping in the car, you're probably dropping right around the 3 o'clock marker now. And if anyone spends any time outside of a high school, you know what happens when dismissal bell rings.
Yeah.
Chaos. Everyone's just running with a purpose to get where they have to go. There's going to be a lot of kids. There's going to be a lot of cars picking up the younger ones. And there's just quite a bit of confusion. Buses getting loaded, people in a hurry to get home to their games, their practices. You know what it looks like. So the real question is, do you want to get involved in the car chaos by the school, or do you want to go it on foot and just
Yeah, that's a good point.
get in?
We'll park, wherever we can find a spot, nearby, and walk the rest of the way, I guess. That's
Okay.
fine.
So why don't I actually read you the notes that I made in the sample story here. Whitestone High School is a reasonably standard affair. It has a side yard area that is surrounded by chain-linked fence. It makes up the entirety of the block on the east side of the street. Despite being a public school, the main entrance is well kept, and it sports 2 long concrete benches on either side, both of which, you'd have to imagine, are now piled up with kids, those that love to gossip just outside the door. So, of course, that area is going to be quite a congregation of kids that are making their final rounds before heading home. And there you have it.
Okay.
There's a
Could I,
crossing guard that makes the chaos a little bit more orderly, if you will.
let's see. Let's see. Jerry.
Hmm.
Thinking maybe one of us could go and either in person or in Dreamwalking go and find out what these kids are talking about and maybe see if anybody mentions Peter or mentions any weird stuff happening.
Yeah, I can go talk to
What
some
do you think?
people.
All right.
Gotta have had a hot teacher, right?
Now, I don't know if you're the best person for this, but I kind of want to get you involved in the story somehow. So it's fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. Just be cool.
Well, what
I'm
if we
always
had?
cool.
Go ahead, Jerry. Play it cool and find yourself the finest-looking high school teacher you can and see what you can learn. That's not asking
Like a
for trouble.
restraining order, you know?
Yeah. Sounds like a good plan.
Oh, yes.
Maybe you'd rather do it in the dream world.
Now you're just trying to spoil my fun.
All right.
No,
So,
do whatever you want.
is Jerry taking the stroll into the school?
It's your call.
Yeah, do it. Make yourself useful, Jerry.
All right.
All right. Go find a hot teacher.
So Jerry takes a quick glance in the reflection in the car window, checks his suit, makes sure everything's spot on. It may not be his normal attire, but damned if he doesn't look good in it. And he knows it. So he's going to schlep his high-class self on into this high school and see what he can dig up. Now, of course, what's your focus here, Jerry? Are you going to do this physically, go in and see if you can poke your nose around? Are you looking for anything specific?
Yeah. Basically, what I want to do is find somebody who will talk to me about Peter. I have a badge in my pocket. I'm not afraid to use it.
Are you going to intentionally question some of the kids hanging around, or are you looking for school officials to do so? That's a very different task, I would think.
You did say there were some kids hanging out kind of...
Sure,
Right by the door,
plenty
right?
of gossip is why the benches are a hot spot for that.
Yeah, so I'll find not of teenage girls. Dear viewers at home, I apologize. Because girls gossip.
Fair enough.
So with that reasoning, he's going to find kind of a knot of girls that look like they might be seniors.
You'll catch quite a few. Not specifically for the women, but because the concrete slabs are the hot spot after dismissal. Whoever's gossiping by the seats has got a clear view of the door and anybody that they're waiting to catch a hold of and make plans with on their way out. So whoever sits or stands on them or congregates in the area is usually lingering around for quite a bit, so it won't be hard for you to find a couple of chatterboxes to hit up for information. Now, of course, you'll probably grab the first one who looks at you a little bit longer than the rest, figuring that might give you just the opening to get this information without having too much of a problem. And that'll bring you to a young girl, Mary. Maybe a smile that was a little too broad, maybe a stare that lingered just a moment too long, but it was the cues Jerry was looking for, and he starts hitting her up for information. Mary takes that one strand of hair and pushes it behind her ear before saying, "So you're here looking for Pete? You know the story about what happened to Pete, right?"
Yeah, I sure do. I'm trying to get a few more details.
And
Were you friends with him?
no, no, Pete, he was a little rough for my taste, you know. Always at it. Boys will be boys, you know.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Um, but no, we weren't close. But I mean, it's a shame what happened to him. I don't mean it like that. Just I didn't know him, you know, personally.
You know anyone who maybe didn't like Pete so much?
Well, yeah, I mean, a guy like Pete, he had plenty of enemies. I mean, not a few weeks would go by, he'd be fighting with somebody else. I mean, he was dating, you know, that girl Abby for a while, and then they split up, I heard, and I'm sure that caused a whole new breed of bad blood. You know how those unpleasant breakups go.
Hmm. Abby got a last name?
Michaels.
Is she
Michaels.
around here?
No, she's an underclassman, if you will.
Ah, yes.
She just looks over at the two girls waiting for her and says, "Yeah, you know, you tend to stick with your own peers."
Oh, yes. I know what you're saying.
But
And,
if you're looking for Abby, she's at a hospital now. They say she didn't take well to what happened to Pete.
like a head doctor?
Yeah,
Oh,
has
that's
been.
interesting. Was she there when he was killed?
No, they say, and like I said, I don't know, but they say that the guilt got to her. Started having a bit of a breakdown over it, and she hasn't been back to school since. It's been almost 2 weeks.
Interesting.
Uh,
Anyone else you can think of that didn't care much for Pete?
I mean, like I said, he was always fighting with somebody, but no one that would sick a dog on him. I mean, that's crazy.
Got it. You've been a lot of help, Mary. Thank you. Do the wink and the grin.
Wink, wink.
I just want to know, how old is your character?
26.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was imagining a 47-year-old. That's what I had in my mind.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there are no parents concerned about Jerry's questioning of the underage teenagers.
Yeah, so I'll meander on back to the car.
Maybe he has that little bit of swagger to his walk, the kind of thing that usually tips Nikki off to a job at least half well done.
Okay. So you'd fill me in?
Yeah, got the name of an ex-girlfriend. She's apparently been put in a hospital. Say, guilt over what happened to him drove her there.
Hmm. Guilt. What, do people think that she's responsible for it?
They're teenage girls. She was an underclassman. They didn't like her too much.
Hmm. Okay. Is there anything else we can learn while we're here? I. Hmm.
That depends. You could.
Was there was nobody else has been attacked in the same way recently,
No.
right?
This was an anomaly, if you will. Someone getting hurt like this or killed like this.
Yeah.
The only further thing that you could do if you wanted to do the same kind of investigation that Billy did at the crime scene, you could repeat the kind of process here at the school. But beyond that, you know, the school itself, you're just looking for leads.
Yeah. Sure. I'm gonna try that and see if we can't find like the origin of this thing. If it sort of came from this direction or if it was just out of nowhere or what. So if we find the same kind of like black ooze, maybe that'll tell us something.
Hey, if you need to sleep, boss, I'll take over the wheel. I mean, I'll sacrifice.
All right, that sounds good. Why don't you?
Company car. Got the company car.
All right. Now the last thing we need is to be pulled over. So go the speed limit. And why don't we head over to that hospital then, or like look it up on your cell phone or whatever. Where's the nearest psychiatric hospital?
Well, fortunately for Billy, he's very tech savvy, both due to his youth and his persistent affection for such things. So it wouldn't be a challenging task for him to do a little bit of digging and find out the only game in town when it comes to a resident psych ward.
All right.
Now, of course, the name that you have at your disposal is Abigail Michaels. And one thing to bear in mind here, of course, is that in a small town like this, you would know this specifically, Nikki, that a case like this could cause quite a stink in a small town. Now, the Doubt has done its dirty work and ensured that this seems like a stray dog killed a boy, terrible tragedy. Next at 11 is blah, 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 blah. You know, and everything moves on. I mean, yes, it's sad, but the town will get past it. Of course, the truth here could be something much more horrible that needs your attention. That said, these kind of things get spoken of, and you're dealing in a small pond, so when you mention the poor girl Abigail Michaels, you've got a good chance of someone knowing who you're referring to. And that said, social media that I'm sure Billy's going to be roaming through, he'll have no problem connecting the dots, finding this woman, or this young girl, I should say, and finding Taurus Psychiatric Hospital, which is the name of the hospital that she is currently admitted at.
Okay, Taurus. All right. So let's see. But I'm gonna enter the dream world and see if there's anything around this the school right here.
Just his body. His body doesn't have to be close to him while he's doing this, right?
You mean he can sleepwalk while the body is in the car? He can go into the school? Yeah, he can cover whatever distance he'd like once he's fallen asleep, but his body will remain sleeping in the car no matter where he goes.
Okay, so I can start driving there while he's at the school.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
All right, just making sure.
Yes, that's correct. So let's assume that what goes on, that Nikki takes her turn, nodding off to see what she can investigate while you guys are making your way over, and that'll leave the boys a chance to gossip a little bit without their fearless leader telling them what they should and shouldn't be doing. And that said, that'll bring Nikki to the dream version of the high school.
Yeah.
Now, the search will be brief and relatively easy on you because most of the school seems as it does when you were awake. The entrance, the people passing by, most of them are awake, and thus they're little more than shimmering images passing through the hallways and the doors, barely there enough for you to see that they exist in the waking world. But they're not sleeping, and thus they're not really there. So they're just ghosts. And you're able to walk the halls uninterrupted and make your rounds, check the office, look in a couple of the classrooms. And for the most part, it seems the search is going to be uneventful. Even for a relatively small school like this, it does take a few minutes to cover the ground. But what stops you is when you get to the section of lockers for the locker room.
Okay.
That's where you find the first bit of something amiss. The actual locker room is empty, and most of the ghosts of people who are still awake have gone. The problem is that it gives off a strange, eerie sensation, if you will. The minute you cross the threshold into the room, you get that strange sensation, if you will, that goose flesh, if you were awake, that would make you aware that something's not quite right, but you can't put your finger on it. And that'll lead you to walking over to one of the rows of the lockers, and it'll instantly stand out to you what's amiss. There down the row of lockers, there's one in particular that has a strange, semi-solid shadowy mass clung to the locker. It actually looks as if this weird material was flung at the locker and splattered outward. It's stretching out over surrounding lockers, and it looks unnatural and unpleasant.
Okay. I'll go up to it, and seems it's like over the front of the locker or something, right? It's kind of, I'll see if I can open the locker, like get through this stuff, sort of peel it off or whatever.
First, just a test. Wipe a
yeah,
little
am I able to touch it?
Sure. And it's almost semi-solid. You're surprised that with a little bit of effort, it'll actually break apart, like someone flinging around, bubbles from a bubble bath. They look like they should have some kind of weight or substance, but instead it just kind of pushes away. And there's the actual front of this locker, one that you're able easily to pop open, swing the door out, and peruse the contents.
Yeah.
And there is the heart of the evil, if you will. There's a couple of belongings in it. There's a leather jacket there, some textbooks, but the key is a photograph that's taped, oddly enough, on the inside of the locker. And it's a young boy and a girl. The boy is recognizable since you've spent enough time studying the case to know it's Peter. And underneath the photo, written in purple marker, is XOXO and the name Abby.
Okay. And why do I think this is evil? It's like I can just sense that this is the source of the thing.
Well, it's definitely centered around this locker. So whatever it is that caused this kind of lingering negativity, whatever is at the root of the nightmare that this is evolving into, it certainly has to do with the people or belongings in this locker. If this was Pete's locker, which, considering you're with the male lockers, it's probably a good guess.
Okay.
It's got his stink all over it, and something is definitely wrong here. Okay. Even if not in the actual location, you're starting to put together that what happened to Pete couldn't have been a simple accident. He wasn't just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay. So it's definitely this is like the origin of that creature. Is it possible for me to take something from my dream back into reality?
Somehow? It is. Actually, it's something that is covered in the game's rules. However, it's something that's exceptionally difficult. And furthermore, it doesn't always work with flawless success. The more competent and experienced an anima is, the more likely they are to produce such an effect. In this particular case, it would be probably beyond a new anima's efforts without an exorbitant expenditure of conviction. So that would be something Nikki would know, that it's probably not worth exhausting yourself trying to get something through, especially if you still have to deal with a real threat.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Well, I will definitely just make a note of this thing. I can, like, if back in the real world, I could potentially get back to this locker.
Yes.
You can tell, like, I know where it is and everything. All right.
The real detail to remember is that the dreams, when you're dreamwalking, you're technically affecting things through a dream. So, unfortunately, it's not 100% always the same. Dreams are funny like that. Sometimes you might go to a place and find something just a little bit different when it was in the real world. But conventionally, yes, if you went to the locker, you would still find his locker there where you saw it in the dream and his belongings in it.
Okay, perfect. All right, we'll snap out of it and move on then.
All right. So they are sitting outside the hospital, already finding themselves a nice, cushy parking spot not far from the entrance. The boys will be returned with Nikki's waking form. And she looks only mildly less trouble than Billy did when he took his turn.
Okay.
You'll see
Yeah,
me there with fast food, by the way. We stopped because I was starving, so we need food.
All right. Well, listen up. Uh, we definitely need to talk to Abby Michaels, but it seems that we should definitely be cautious and be ready for anything here, because this creature had something to do with her and with this her relationship with Peter. So just be ready for that.
All right, let's do this then.
Probably to get in, we're gonna have to show our, we're gonna have to give a reason for visiting. So we could rely on our cover, or we could try to lie our way in some other way.
Okay.
What
Well,
do you
you
think?
have two strong advantages here. One is that the cover can be used and is already set up for you, so you don't have to make up a story necessarily.
Yeah.
And two, it's probably not every day that a person in this type of suburb town gets visited by the feds. So that might have a little bit additional weight to the cover story, if you will.
Okay. Let's see, who's our most, probably our most official looking would be Jerry, with your fancy suit and all. So why don't you lead the way?
Sure. And Jerry steals a couple French fries on his way out of the car.
Palm and Billy's fries.
You monster.
So he's going to strut his way up to the hospital entrance. Now, the two of you following his lead, or are you staying behind?
I was thinking two of us might be too many. I would just stick in the car and just see what happens outside.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I want to be, we'll be like partners or something, you know. It's always more intimidating if there's two agents together. So I'll just be, lend my authority from the rear.
You're playing good cop, bad cop again.
So the duo will make their way into the hospital. Right there at the front entrance, you'll see the actual reception desk. And there's a young, dye blonde-haired woman with her hair tied up, wearing a actual sport jacket, sharp business attire, seated at the desk, and she looks rather focused at the computer that's sitting just off to her right. So much so that she barely even noticed that you entered. However, once she takes a once-over, it becomes apparent that she had to fight the urge to do a double take. A few clicks later, she's no longer looking at the screen and turns to the two of you to say, "Hi, can I help you?" Her name
Sure
tag-
hope you can.
The name tag will just say Jackie.
Jackie. Special Agent Holt. This is my partner. Agent Meeks. Flash the badge. We're here to talk to one of your patients.
Oh, which patient?
Abigail Michaels.
Abby. Oh, okay. Are you on the visitation list?
Probably not. That's why we brought these. And he taps his pocket where his badge is.
She looks at him, smiles a little bit, and says, "I better call Dr. Chin. He's probably going to want to know that you're coming to investigate one of the patients of his. Could you just hang out a
Listen,
moment?"
we're not investigating his patient. We just want to ask her a few questions.
Okay.
It's in connection with the tragic death of Kozlov.
Yeah. It's terrible stuff. Unfortunately, you can't actually get in to speak to her without Dr. Chin to let you in. So either way, I have to tell him. But If you hang out one sec, I'll page him and see if he can let you in.
Sure. We'll be right here.
She just looks away uncomfortably, punches it in, and you'll hear her speak into the phone as a receiver, saying Dr. Chin that Abigail Michaels has 2 officers here to speak to her. Quickly put the phone down and try very hard not to stare and divide her attention between the 2 of you looming over her desk.
That's right.
After a few moments of imposed awkwardness, Dr. Chin will make his way out to the front desk. And let's see here. I even made a note about Dr. Chin for you. He is a pleasant, serene-looking man of Asian descent. His tie, shirt, and sweater vest speak of a person who is always on the job, even when they're trying to be laid back. He's very at home, if you will, in the hospital. And he has a rather open bearing about him. He doesn't seem overly stuffy or uncomfortable by your presence. And when he makes his way over, he doesn't even wait a moment without offering his hand out to shake it. I'm Dr. Chin.
I'm Holt. This is Meeks.
Pleasure to meet you. I understand that you're here for Miss Michaels?
Yes. She's a person of interest in an ongoing investigation.
I'm sorry to hear that. Why don't you follow me? He just walks over to the doors and swipes his card to let himself through and holds it carefully for the 2 of you to walk into the hallway that he just came out of. And once the 2 of you do, he turns, lets the door close, and without taking a step forward says, "Look, I can't discuss Miss Michaels' treatment with you, obviously, so whatever questions you're going to ask her, let me just preface you with this. She's really not in a good place, and she's had a very hard time in treatment. She doesn't get a tremendous amount of outside visitors, despite the fact that she is welcome to do so. I would really appreciate it for her own well-being if you could just show a little bit of tact with her. Maybe a little tenderness. The local law enforcement, when they spoke to her, was less than sympathetic. And I don't think in her current state that's such a great thing for her recovery. So maybe if you could do me that favor, this won't be such a terrible experience for everyone involved." He's obviously leaning on Nikki, like pleading with her, maybe assuming, however correct or otherwise he may be, that it's not even worth dealing with hard-ass looking Jerry. The sympathy.
It's nothing to be concerned about, Dr.
Chin.
Whatever his name is. Dr. Chen. Nothing to be concerned about. We're just going to ask a few questions.
Fair enough. As I said, he continues walking. Abigail's been a tough case, and she's unfortunately not on the mend the way I would have liked. So I'd pressure you to be careful with your questions, but I will tell you this, she's not a threat, at least physically to herself or to others, so you don't have to worry about that, but I am obligated to stay present while you speak to her, since she is in my care. In this particular case, I'll be just outside the door. If you need me, I'll be right there. When he gets to the door, he'll open it for you and just says, "Go ahead. Just remember what we discussed."
You got it, Doc.
Let the 2 of you by. Now, I assume that Billy's in the car stuffing his face, relaxing.
Oh yeah, I've got my feet up on the dash, eating my 3rd burger. I hope those guys hurry up.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep a lookout. I'm not noticing. I figure I wouldn't be noticing anything out here, though.
I'll alert you to the fact if something's amiss.
Okay.
All right. Um, so let's explain this here. When you first enter the room, you're going to notice this, of course. Abigail Michaels is a wisp of a girl. Were it not for the relative calm of the building as a whole, the tortured and broken look on her face would probably be enough to unnerve you. I mean, her eyes are dark with sleeplessness. Her arms are bruised in sport bandages. There's even a small portion of her blonde hair missing over her left eye. It makes just a crude little bald patch. Prior to her current state, she was probably your ordinary, vibrant teenage girl. Now all that remains is a hollow, tormented shell of a person who looks too weak to defend herself from the creeping shadows that she is obviously petrified of. She is a mess, and it's written all over her face. Inside the room, at the foot of her bed, you'll be standing because that's where the doorway ushers you in, and you're immediately relieved to see just how bright the room looks, that there's a window of a rather large size on the bed side of her, and lights the place rather well. The room's stark, it's white, nondescript. On the right-hand side of the room, on the opposite wall from her window and bed, is a desk with a few get-well cards, and there's a single unopened envelope pushed off to the side of the desk. Let's just say that the simplicity and cleanliness of the room is a stark contrast to Abigail herself.
Okay. I've got this skill. I'm pretty good at interrogation and kind of interacting with people that way. So I'm gonna start.
Working some magic.
Yeah, and just trying to get her to open up a little bit, and get her talking, put her at ease, and
Sure.
but I also know these a little bit about her relationship with Peter. So we're gonna get there. I'm gonna work my way towards that. But just
Okay.
start introduce myself like I'm a special agent, Nikki. Uh, how have you been doing? And blah blah blah. And we were just at your school, and a lot of the kids there are missing you, and hope you get better, and et cetera, et
School?
cetera.
School? I don't even remember what school is. Come to think of it, I don't remember much of anything. Now that it's here, there's nothing but growling and maws, claws, maybe screaming at times. You shouldn't have come here. Nikki? You said your name was Nikki?
Yeah.
What a mistake that was.
Okay. What about Peter? Do you remember him?
I remember Pete. Yeah. I remember the way he looked before and the way he looked after. That's the way I'm going to look. It's the way you're going to look when it's done devouring everything. I think it's the way I look now. Look at my face, Nikki. Look at my face. I didn't look like this 2 weeks ago.
Holt, do you want
Nikki kind of
to?
turns to Jerry at a loss, like, what do I do with this?
Uh, Well, what can you tell us about what did you see? What happened to Peter?
It ate him. James always tried to tell me it was going to happen, and I didn't believe him. I thought he was crazy. Now I think I'm the crazy one. I think I belong in here. He tried to tell me it was going to happen, and I didn't listen. Every once in a while, Abigail almost seems like she gets lost in her own thoughts, just kind of glares off, and then comes back to it, if you will.
So who was that? Somebody told her this was gonna happen?
Yeah, that's my boyfriend James. He's an
James.
artist, or at least he was. If he still has arms or hands. You should get her out of here. The both of you. While she still has her pretty face, you should get her out of here.
I think Nikki can take care of herself.
Now wait a minute. I thought Peter was her boyfriend. Who's this James guy?
Well, Pete and I mean, we split up, and he didn't take too kindly to me dating James, and what does it matter now anyway? I mean, it's not like it would have been any different. I would have never believed this. I would have never believed any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Jerry's got that strange sentiment that this woman is not altogether well. If she's fallen apart, the real question is whether or not she's falling apart because she is seeing things that are really bad and she can't handle, or whether she really is ill and is a mess. Unfortunately for DCMA agents, you are often pressed with these kinds of problems because to everyone else, anime are just crazy people.
Yeah.
Seems like a shame, but it is often the case.
Okay. Well,
That
let's see.
that said, your phone is going to be ringing, Nikki.
Okay. All right. I need to take this, but Jerry, or sorry, Special Agent Holt. Maybe think about using some magic on this person, your ward, to help her out.
Sure
Interesting.
thing, boss.
So Jerry will go and
Well,
take a
yeah.
step next to Abigail's bed, look over the girl once. As soon as he does, Abigail will reach her hand out, startlingly quick, and grab Jerry by the wrist. You've got to get her out of here.
Why?
Because it's going to eat both of you. It only ever leaves me behind.
You know, Abby. And he leans forward because he doesn't necessarily want Nikki to overhear this. That is one tough lady. She
Okay.
can handle herself.
You remember, I tried to warn you. Outside, when you pick up the phone, Nikki, you're going to find your senior agent
Yep.
on the other end. What are you doing? It's been hours.
Well, Mr. Masters, I was just about to call you because we just got a pretty big break in the case. Talked to a Kozlov's ex-girlfriend, Abby Michaels, just now, and she's at Taurus Hospital. And it seems Peter might have, had a. It looks like he definitely did have a run-in with the doubt, or a nightmare of some kind.
So you're talking like an actual Reaver.
It looks that way based on Abby's description and her current state of mind. And my main concern now is for her.
Well, is the girl one of us, or is she just a sleeper? You don't know. You know something?
Hard to say.
This isn't exactly inspiring confidence. Do me a favor. Find out if she's the root of this problem. If the girl's just sick, then she's where she belongs, getting help. If she isn't, and she's one of us, this problem isn't going to go away on its own. It already killed one boy. Let's not wait around and see if it kills another.
Yeah. Oh,
and make sure you pay attention. You should be together if the thing is still around. Whoever's causing it is still around. If it's a Reaver, they're dangerous. Don't fool around with it. Watch each other's back. I don't want agent body bags coming home with the children's.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. We're on it.
And worst case scenario, just remember, if they are one of us, we were all new once. We all remember what it was like to think we were the crazy ones.
All right.
Can we all hear this being said?
Let me know what happens. Just hangs up.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, poor Billy's in the car.
No, that's right.
I'll tell you when. So I'll stick my head back in to the room there and say, Holt, I think we're ready to go. I think we have what we need. Thank you, Dr. Chin.
The doctor just nods at you. Abby just says, I warned you.
Doctor, I'll say this as an aside to the doctor. Make sure she gets some sleep tonight. She's looking a little sleep deprived there.
So, Nikki's outside, canoodling with the doctor, trying to show his sympathy. Jerry's inside with Abigail, and he'll feel as her nails begin digging into his wrists, that grip changing from pleading to terrified. And outside, poor Billy's stuffing down those french fries, perfectly oblivious to what's going on the inside, thinking everything's A-okay. And there's a loud snap and crack, followed by the shattering of glass. And in a moment, there's shards flying throughout the entire room, and a huge, horrific beast has leapt its way through the hospital window. Your clawed arm, Jerry, is the first portion of your assault. The second is your ears. Abigail Michaels just begins the most blood-curdling scream that a poor human girl can utter. It's loud and persistent, and it is sincere. The monster, if you will, is without a doubt a Reaver, one made of that same icky, viscous black mess that was out at the crime scene. And the creature plops itself right down at the foot of the bed and looks like an enormously overgrown dog. And it turns its horrible, hungry eyes on you. Of course, Dr. Chin begins screaming and immediately turns away from you and starts running down the hospital hallway. Now, to him, maybe a dog, maybe there was an explosion, maybe he'll forget what happened. One never knows quite how the doubt works its magic, but it will, and he'll have never seen that. But you, on the other hand, you see it just fine.
Yeah. So I'm gonna shout out to the doctors who are running away, tranquilizers, and then I'm gonna
He's
speed
yelling for
down,
help.
speed down Billy, and start shouting at you over the phone to get in here.
Okay, all right, I'm coming. I chuck the phone. I run out the door and I run right towards the hospital.
So Billy's in a panic. Now, of course, Billy will have heard the window explode.
Oh, okay.
Outside, it's awfully quiet. And while you didn't see what jumped through the window, you will hear an extremely loud crash. And that's usually a sign of something being wrong. And the phone call will just confirm, so you'll probably already be on your way to the hospital door by the time Nikki's calling for distress.
Okay. Right. I do have one question. Can we take on these things in our awake form, or are we better at combating them in our dream walking form?
That's a good question. Let me fill you in for anyone curious about how that actually works. For the game's purposes, these living nightmares, they can force themselves into the waking world once they've grown sufficiently strong. Once the doubt has seen you or the native anima who is tied to it as a big enough threat, the Reaver will be given enough strength to actually become real. Now that said, for anima that want to deal with it, you have two choices. You could, in a mundane way, simply shoot the thing or hit it with a car or deal with it in any way you wanted. The more common situation is to use what is at your disposal, like your animus or any other magics or abilities. That said, they will work equally well whether you're in a dream walk or whether you're in the waking world, because the nightmare exists in both.
Okay. I didn't know if I'm running in and I'm pretty much running in without a weapon when I'm better to fall asleep. That's all I wanted to make sure that
One thing to know is that if you did fall asleep, your body would be lifelessly sitting wherever it is sleeping while you are doing your business. So maybe it's off that you're running around with your body.
Okay. All right. Just checking.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm running in.
Now that said, because Jerry was in the room and probably on edge via Abigail's insistence that he was in danger, we're going to assume that when this horrible assault begins, that Jerry was ready. So unlike Nikki, who was busy talking to Dr. Chin, or Billy, who's running to get back to the scene of the problem, I'm going to have Jerry act almost instinctively. I would assume that Jerry's first act is probably going to be...
Invoke.
Yeah, I think that's a fair guess.
Sword and shield.
I'm going to have that take place in the time it takes the Reaver to orient itself after jumping through a humongous window. In that time, Nikki made a phone call to Billy. Billy made a big portion of the trip running towards the room. That said, we can begin your first test with combat, because the beast is not going to stop until it is thoroughly mauled. Poor Jerry. So let's go over how that works, for those of you who don't know. In Of Dreams and Magic, we measure metrics of time in something called phases. And the first thing we do is determine what we call reaction order. That helps us decide who goes when during a phase, which is unfortunately a necessity. And to do that, we're going to make our first ability test. Every skill use or attack or action that's taken is using what we call an ability test in the game, testing your literal ability to perform this said action. In this case, you're going to test your reaction ability. On your character sheet, you will see that there is an actual reaction score listed. It's going to be different for each of you. What you're going to do is make an ability test using that score. So let's start with Jerry, and we could watch Jerry do it, since Andrea has a little experience with how this works. Why don't you explain to them what your reaction score is and what you're about to do.
All right, so my reaction score is an 8. And what I'm doing is I'm rolling 2d10. Of course.
And your great luck continues.
So you take the first number and you subtract the second number. So in my case, it's a -4. And I subtract that from my reaction for a 4.
Yes. What we call that is the over-under. Your First die is your over die, the die showing how much over your normal performance ability your test is going to come out. And the under die is just the opposite, how under your normal performance you're performing in this particular test. So unfortunately for Jerry, he underperformed by -4. So his 8 reaction loses 4 points, and his result for the test, like Andrea said, is 4. So now each of you will do the same, and I will do the same for the Reaver, and then we will sort the order out.
All right.
Let's see.
Did you guys see what I rolled, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to display mine as well, but apparently Google hates me tonight and doesn't want to
Yeah.
show you anything.
Visuals are not working for you guys. But
Wow.
you can just tell us what you rolled.
How weird. Okay, so in my case, for the Reaver, to better clarify, I rolled a 5 on my over and a 7 on my under. So when they're combined, I ended up with a -2. Not quite as bad as Jerry, but bad. And then I'm going to combine that with the Reaver's reaction to get my result. And that is an 11. His reaction was 13. He lost 2 points, and that puts him, or it, if you will, at an 11. Much better, I think, than Jerry's 4.
Okay.
So why don't you do the same?
I have a reaction of 12. I got -4, so I'm down to 8.
Oof. I'm not doing well here, guys.
Now, where is the reaction on the sheet? Just.
Mr.
So-
Prost.
It'll be your sort of the first page where it has the Odam logo on it, and sort of the rightmost column under health and stamina and that.
Yeah, it's actually on the right side, all the way near the bottom, just above the word possessions.
Oh, okay. So I rolled a 9 and a 1. So is that good or bad?
Well, if your first
I have
die,
a 13.
yeah, if your first die was the positive,
Okay.
then that was a good roll.
Oh, yes. Yes, it was. Okay.
Yes. So you would end up with +8 as your over/under, and you would add that to your reaction.
So I get 21.
Correct. So
Nice.
nimble, quick Billy once again prevails.
Gotta save you, you old timers.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Billy, he's got quite a bit of distance to cover.
Oh, that's right. Dang
So
it.
in this particular case, I'm going to assume that because of the distance, no matter how fast Billy reacted, I would say that there's got to be some form of penalizing that he's got such great ground to cover. And in that particular case, I would assume a penalty of maybe 6 to his reaction order is fair, showing how much slower he's going to get to this entanglement because of his distance. Now, that's a judgment call, and obviously in the rules there are adjudications for movement to some extent, but I'm doing this more for the timetable because any particular action could be a life-threatening one with this enemy, so we want to know exactly when everyone took their actions. Now, if you apply a 6 penalty to your 22, where would that land you?
Oh, I thought I had 21. Was it 22?
Did you end up with 21? I'm sorry, maybe I was
Yeah, I
mistaken.
think it's
It's 21, so that would be 15, right?
All right. So you would still be ahead of the Reaver. Now, why we do this? This gives everyone a reaction value, and then we put them in order, and that helps determine our order for the turn.
Oh,
So
okay.
what we typically would do, just like in many similar systems for determining turn order, we're going to have the person with the lowest score declare their actions first. This way, people who reacted better or quicker, they get the full picture, if you will, to adjust their behaviors accordingly. So unfortunately, the slowest person here was Jerry. So Jerry, what would be your declared action for this particular phase? Now that
I am going to
Center.
protect the girl.
using your ward.
Yep.
Now, the ward is instant and free. So if you wanted, you could also take an actual action during the phase.
Okay. I think I will So once the ward is up, I've got that Eldritch Blast thingy.
You sure do. Would you like to start throwing magic at the monster?
Yes, please.
Fair enough. So let's say that you're going to ward the girl with your ward ability. Now, for those who don't know, the sentinel that Jerry becomes when he uses his animus is a magic knight, and these magic knights are devoted, like was mentioned in the beginning, to protecting people. They're guardians, if you will. And so when he summons his animus, he instantly can choose a single target, and that target or benefits, I should say, from a form of damage mitigation, an armor, if you will, a magic protection. And that is an instant and free action, so it doesn't incur any penalties for Jerry, who would want to take another action during the phase, which is why I'm provoking Andrea to choose something like throwing magic. In addition, next on the list would be, I believe, Nikki. Now, what is Nikki doing for the phase?
I am also going to activate my animus and summon this futuristic pistol.
Now, that'll all come packaged with your animus. When you activate it,
Oh, okay, sweet.
it will arrive, everything will come together.
So I've got this Vector Z9 hand blaster.
So we'll see cables attached to her weapon as it'll manifest. Her body will take on that half-cyborg look. Her arm will turn completely metallic. The whole imagery and all.
I've got very sort of Tron-looking glowing armor and stuff.
Sure.
Sweet.
So you'll take that as your action. The Reaver is going to literally leap at Jerry and maul him, if possible. It's going to try and claw its first victim down. And that would leave just Billy.
Alrighty, now let me... trying to read through the different stuff here, trying to come up with a good idea.
Okay. So for you, since I don't know if you got a chance, the animus is an entire package. So when you choose to activate your animus, everything associated with it instantly becomes available and active. So whatever benefits, in your particular case, I believe it gives you a bonus to your agility. It also allows you to do additional damage to unnatural targets, because that's what monster hunters do. All of that comes packaged in that one activation, if you will.
Okay. So I will... oh, what is it? So as he's... I'm just trying to envision it. So as he's entering, are we only calling up the weapons, or are we actually changing into these...
How it actually would work is you would literally become...
Okay.
Animus. So in your particular case, your hair would go gray, your face would take on that forlorn image of a weathered, unnatural hunter. Your imagery would change to suit accordingly to what your animus tells you. Now, of course, anyone that saw you that was a sleeper would just see Billy. But that wouldn't let them see anything. So according to an outsider, poor Nikki might be standing there holding her hand out like this, just pointing.
Okay.
Or maybe she's holding a real gun, but not a futuristic pistol. The doubt doesn't necessarily tell everyone the same thing, but it will lie to them so that they don't see what you see.
Okay. So, if I'm picturing it right, they're in a room, the creature's in a room, right?
Right.
So, Billy can see that that Jerry is bravely trying to block this monster, and the monster's just starting to turn and go towards Jerry.
Sure.
And so, Billy's just running, and as he's running, the camera turns to the side, and you sort of just see him kind of like from an outside window perspective as he runs past each window, like the magical, whatever the effect is, like the shadowing or whatever starts coming, his hair starts going off, and he's just running like, ah! And he's going to try to leap, bringing out his sword, or can I have more than one sword? Can I just say I have two swords?
Now,
he has one sword, right?
The portrayal
Like
shows the image of the swords, but unfortunately for Billy, he is still too new of an anima to conjure those goody weapons.
Okay.
In the book, those might be a rank 3 or a rank 4 component of his animus, but he hasn't gotten that far yet. Because Billy's the newest member, he hasn't developed far enough to see some of those fanciful things, but what Billy can do is he has an ability in his animus that allows him to use even a mundane object as if it were a lethal weapon.
So that would be the rank 1 Slayer.
Right.
Okay.
So for Billy, even something as simple as a pen could be as dangerous as a sword. No pun intended, but you know.
In the magical, what other people are saying, will this pen look like a sword, or is it going to look like a pen that I'm attacking this thing with?
It will look like it would actually look like a pen.
That's fine.
The difference is it will strike like a sword.
Okay, so yeah, you know, he goes to pull out what the audience might think is a sword, and it's like this pen. He's like, ah, and he's leaping because he's trying to get there before it starts mauling Jerry. So that's the scene. Is him leaping through the door, going at it.
All right.
Well, through the window, right? Because you're coming from the outside.
Well, I would assume he's going to run through. If
I'm running through a hallway, you know, so I'm trying to come.
Running past that receptionist.
Yes. No, I'm not running past her. I leap over the desk, start sprinting, running like a madman. You know, the receptionist is like, "What in the world's going on? There's a madman here running through the building."
Well, you might pass a very horrified Dr. Chin on the way in.
That's true. That's true. He screams this way.
Crazy
He's running that way, screaming, terrified. I'm running this way, screaming with a battle cry. Ah! Let's get this going.
Nothing like a little low-key action at a hospital, huh?
That's right.
All right. So,
you know, I'm just trying to fit in. So we got this.
Let's take the walk through the actual mechanic, if you will, so you can see how it goes. Now that we've established the order and everyone declared, we would work our way through the list. Because Billy still is in first, even though he declared last, his action's actually going to take hold first. So, quick Billy's going to respond to the cry and beat everyone, if you will, to the punch, and just leap into the fray. Now, in your particular case, you're wielding a pen. So, you probably don't have pen fighting in your sheet.
No, I do not see that.
So, you will not have a relevant skill to use like you would if you were using sword technique or kickboxing like Nikki has. In this particular case, you're going to use an unskilled test because there is no skill to cover stabbing someone with a pen. Now, in your particular case, I'm going to say that Billy is very quick, nimble, and this isn't a blunt force trauma. So let me show you something about why the sheet looks the way it does. On your character sheet, if you look at it, you'll see that each of the actual skills has a column devoted to each particular attribute in the game. And each skill that you have is going to have its number, the base, listed first, and then each column to the right of it is going to be modified by the column's appropriate attribute. So, for example, in Billy's case, he does have some skill with flattery. If you were making a flattery test, you would roll your rating of 6. But if you were using an attribute to modify that, which would be determined in this case by me, and you were using your charm, you would use 20 because that's what's listed under charm. If you were not using charm and you were using, say, your intellect, you would use a different number. In that particular case, it happens to be the same one, so it's a bad example. But you get the idea. It's listed that way so that when I make the spot decision of what's most appropriate, like this case where agility is probably the most appropriate of the 3 physical attributes, you would just move over to the column and use the skill. Now, like I said, you don't have pen fighting as a skill, so we don't have a base skill to look up. So you're just going to use your agility. Whatever that attribute is, you're going to roll your test using that number.
Is fighting applicable, or is that something else?
Fighting would normally be applicable. Now, I guess you could argue that if you had some fighting experience, you could use that skill, but well, I guess in your case you may as well. You do have a 2 in fighting, so you may as well use the fighting skill. I'll let that go. I think where to stick the pen is still relevant, even if you haven't experienced fighting with one before.
Okay. And now we roll the up and under, or the up and over.
That's correct.
Over under. Okay.
So in Billy's case, anyone who's not looking at the sheet would know, Billy's fighting is base at 2, and his agility is a 6. So listed under agility for fighting is 8. So you'd be starting with an 8.
I rolled a 6 and a 2.
You did. Now your 6 would be your over, since that was the first one you listed.
Mm-hmm.
Second would be your under, so you'd have a +4. So you would take your 8, add your 4.
Which gives me a 12.
Ta-da! Now, how this normally works. Normally, someone who was aware and actively trying to protect themselves would be given the option to make a defensive test and protect themselves against your effort to stab. In Of Dreams and Magic, unlike your conventional game system, the roll isn't representative of a singular attack. What you're taking is a combat, a phase, a period of time of trying to stab this creature with a pen. It's easy to think of it as just one swing, but in reality, the game is not designed that way. If it was an instant action, like pulling a trigger, where the action happens and then ends all at the same moment, then yes, that would be the case. It's a singular instance, one little event. But for combat and what we call persistent actions, you're not measuring your singular attempt. You're measuring the totality of your attempt. How good are you at feinting? How good are you at psyching your opponent out into leaning a little bit to the left or dropping their right hand so that you can get your sucker punch in? All of that is accomplished with that singular ability test. So in this particular case, you would have gotten a 12, and I would turn to the Reaver and say, all right, Reaver, let's test how good you are at thwarting Billy's effort. Unfortunately for the Reaver, this Violence Reaver is just that. It is a violence nightmare, and one of the traits of a Violence Reaver is that it cannot defend itself. It's so intent on maiming and doing something horrible that it will not protect itself. So you just get a 12, and it doesn't mitigate that by opposing you. That allows for you to earn 12 cap. So let me explain that real quickly to you, so that as we go forward you won't have to think about it. Cap is the second part of the rule system, and one that is the most often asked about. Because the test is not a singular action, cap, or competitive advantage points, are a currency that you earn when you attempt actions. And that currency is then used by you, the player, to decide exactly what your attempted action yielded. Normally, it would be, did I hit or did I miss? But in our system, the cap allows you to decide exactly what you did. Did you hit? Did you hit hard? Did you get the pen under a rib and maybe bite deeply into a lung? Did you put the pen in his hamstring to make sure he couldn't get away? Did you use that cap to mitigate some of the good positioning the monster may have gotten against you? Cap is your currency to help me narrate your character's story. And whether it be in combat or whether it be out of combat, that's the point of that currency. Now, how is it created? Just like you just made some. You won the roll, and thus are going to get the automatic base level of success. And then because you beat the roll, if you will, a test, by 12, or exceeded your target by 12, you're going to be awarded 12 cap. Now, normally, if you're using an ordinary weapon, the weapon would tell you what that cap could help you do. For example, a sword might list severing a limb. It might list causing a bad bleed. It might list additional damage. And you would basically go shopping and pick the effects or the things that you wanted. If you had special traits, special techniques that gave you additional performance abilities that you could do with cap, you would have those available to you too. Unfortunately, Billy is not a warrior of the pen. So the only thing he really can do is stab someone with it and hope that he bites deeply with it. That said, if you look at Slayer, it will tell you that a common mundane item that is not a weapon is given a cap adjustment by this ability to allow it to do increasingly more damage. And that cap adjustment, I believe, is 2 cap for bonus damage. I'm not looking at Billy's sheet, but I should.
No, that looks like what it is.
Yeah.
How much damage would it do? Like, let's say he just barely
Base
beat it.
base success? I believe Slayer specifically tells you what base success is, which I believe is +5 damage. So it would be your strength +5, and any additional cap that you spend to increase the damage, according to Slayer.
So here's my question. Can I spend cap now to increase damage, or do I have to wait till my next attempt or whatever it is?
You spend cap after your ability test is resolved, which is what you just did. Now, because it's a persistent action, you don't have to spend all of your cap. Maybe he didn't take the opening that the creature gave him. Maybe he used that leap to roll over to his far side to put himself between Abby and the beast. And then he's looking for a soft spot. You have the option to spend the cap at your leisure, but you spend it after making a relevant ability test. So you can choose to spend some or all of it now. Or you can wait until next phase, and provided you have the opportunity to do so, spend it after that ability test. But that is your discretion.
I will spend all of the cap. So I will spend 12 cap to do +6 damage.
Strike quick and strike hard.
Yes, that is the plan.
So that's 11, and then you also add your strength to damage?
Right. So you're going to have your strength, +5 from Slayer, plus the additional damage from your cap.
Okay, let me...
So if I'm doing the math correct.
Base strength, right?
Right.
So base strength is 9. I get a +5 with Slayer. Wait, am I doing this wrong?
Your strength is 4, I believe.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, it's above that.
You're right. I was looking in the wrong place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 4, 9... I mean, 5. Okay, so I got...
4 plus 5 would be 9. And then
plus...
cap.
Okay, +6. So 15.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good to me. So now you see, if you were in a protracted fight and you weren't sure whether you wanted to spend that cap right away, maybe you wanted to feel that enemy out, you might stall, take the advantage, the position you're in, and bide your time for an opportunity. But in this particular case, we're pretty sure we want to kill this thing and do it as quickly as possible before it hurts somebody. So you just took the chance and bit deep with the pen.
So cap is pretty much advantage, and I chose to spend my advantage right now. I'm like, I have the high ground, I'm using the high ground at this moment.
Precisely.
Okay.
Now, what will happen going forward, not to derail us too much, but you'll see that as characters become more involved and they have more mechanisms at their disposal, you'll have more and more applicable reasons to pick and choose how you use your cap. The idea there is that, in this particular instance, you're a guy with a pen doing some ungodly damage that shouldn't be possible with a pen because of your magic. But if you were two guys sword fighting in a traditional fantasy setting, no longer would it simply be I hit you, you hit me, and who hit first or who hit harder. Now you might have a guy who has a particular technique that tricks a guy into a butt with the base of a sword, and the rules for the cap expenditure and what it accomplishes would be listed there for the character. Maybe he's particularly good at disarming with his offhand. He might have a technique that for a cheap amount of cap allows him to disarm as long as he's fighting with two weapons. That gives you the kind of breadth and depth to make decisions and strategize how it is you're handling your situations, rather than simply looking at a die and hoping, did I roll high enough?
It's like planning out your moves like a fencing match.
Sure, as opposed to just being a victim.
Grabbing a sledgehammer and hitting the monster.
Right.
Okay. All right, cool, cool.
Okay. So, pen strike for a crazy total. I don't think a pen has ever hurt something so much. For 15 damage. That said, the first thing of this phase is going to be Billy leaping into the room and diving over the creature and thrusting down with a pen. The pen will strike the back of the Reaver, and a chunk of the Reaver's back will actually peel away into that same black, weird substance that was covering the locker that Nikki saw at the school. And a moment after peeling away from the creature, it'll dissolve, almost as if someone took a bite out of cotton candy and just left an empty portion there. The pen didn't seem to faze or aggravate the creature any, but a whole portion of its back is now dissolved.
Well, just for reference, the regular person has about 100 health.
100 health, yeah, that's a good reference. So that would be a terrible wound with a pen.
15 damage is a pretty significant chunk.
Yeah. Now, to continue, next in order would be the Reaver itself. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So let's try my hand at excellent die rolling so I can maul poor Jerry before they gang up on this creature.
We believe in you, Jerry. You can do it.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
Even though I can't get it to display for you, it was an over-under of 1 plus 1. So, the Reaver is making an ability test, and it's adding 1 to its ability score, and it's going to come up with a total of 28. Now, like I discussed with you, Jerry has no intention of just rolling over and letting the Reaver have its way with him. So he's going to actively oppose the Reaver's attempt to claw his face off. That said, Jerry, you might want to make a defensive test and protect yourself.
Sure.
So, since you're using your Animus, and I believe Jerry has his shield when he's using his Animus, correct?
Mhm. Yep.
You can actually use your shield skill to make the ability test, giving you a pretty good ability, I believe. A good score, that is.
I don't see an actual shield skill. I see my shield.
Well, the shield itself gives you a benefit.
Yep.
So
Okay.
you would use
So I just
fighting.
add that +4, right?
Right. You would use your fighting. And in this particular case, I'm going to say Jerry's probably leaning most on his strength to protect himself. He wants to take the brunt of it with the shield and not back down. So you can use your fighting with your strength and then add the benefit that the shield itself gives you.
Goodness gracious. So that is a -1.
Can't get you
Every
cannot get
time.
Wait, it's
So
well, there's a reprieve because you rolled 6s instead of D10s.
Oh gosh, I did. Look at that. I've been playing way too many D6 games. Let's try that whole thing again. That is better.
A positive. I'm proud of you.
I know, I'm proud too. Thank you, Aaron. So that is a total of +6 to my strength. So 23.
Not bad. Now, in this case, your 23 is going to fall short of the Reaver's 28. Now, as we explained prior, that gives the Reaver a positive difference of 5, which becomes the Reaver's cap. So that means the Reaver has actually accrued 5 cap against you. And the Reaver, as we discussed, has no interest in strategy. It's using every advantage it gets and every opportunity that comes its way to inflict any harm it can. And so it does. In this particular case, the Reaver has clawed poor Jerry, and it's going to spend its cap to inflict an even more biting wound, increasing the damage quite a bit. That said, the base damage of its claws is 6, and with its extra cap expenditure, you're going to end up getting hurt for 21 damage. I'm very sorry, Jerry.
That's okay.
So,
I
Jerry
subtract
does.
my armor from that.
Yeah, Jerry does his best to muscle up next to the shield, take one of the first claw strikes square, and make sure it doesn't bite anything crucial. But the follow-up one was a little quicker than he anticipated. It caught him just under the big shield's side and bites down just above his knee, giving a good scrape. Now, yes, his armor would subtract from the damage. And I believe the armor has a reduction of 5, is it? I don't remember.
8.
That's
8.
armor
Oh,
8.
So-
Resistance rating is for against magic.
That's for magic or magical
Does
source.
that count?
In this
Or,
particular case, it would, but because Jerry's armor is magic, it would apply.
Okay.
It's like to like, if you will. So that said, that'll save you from some of the brunt and leave you with only 13 left over. That said, we've got Jerry take a gash, probably not life-threatening, as long as someone will patch it up at some point. And he'll flinch, maybe even snarl a little bit from the pain, but he hasn't physically retreated. He's not giving up ground. He won't let the thing get past him to get to Abigail. And then it's Nikki's turn.
Okay. So I'm basically shooting the thing, but I want to yell out to Jerry and to Abigail, like, get out of here, get her out. And so I'm kind of standing just outside the door, firing in, but I'm going to advance a little bit as I start shooting this thing, and trying to keep it back so Jerry can make an exit.
Sure, fearful as they may be, the team is unified in the effort of protecting poor Abigail.
That's the plan anyway. All right, so I'm using handguns for this. So
Yes, it's your
specialty firearms. So here we go. -2, but that's okay because I'm pretty awesome.
good.
Oh, am I using a particular attribute?
Yeah, in your case, agility is the most relevant, but don't forget to add the pretty substantial bonus that Nikki gets when she's using her animus. Her cybernetic implants give her enhanced targeting and makes it very
Right.
easy to hit her enemies.
Now that says +3 to all firearms ability tests and +2 agility. Do I apply both of those, or is it?
You sure do.
Okay, cool. So it's 30 -2 is 28.
Now, in your case, you're not taking a persistent action. You are taking a literal instantaneous action, which is what firing a ranged weapon is. So you don't have the option of carrying over cap that you might earn. So let's figure out how much cap, if any, you actually did earn from this test. The difficulty, or target number in this case, is going to be listed by the weapon. A ranged weapon lists the target number by range, and you are definitely at short range. So you can look right there at the weapon, and you'll see that the number is
15.
So you needed to hit a 15 to base succeed, and anything above that is going to be the cap that you earn.
Okay, so 28 -15 is 13.
Correct. It's quite a bit.
And it says damage is just 15 by itself, I assume. Then I can spend cap to increase that even more.
Correct. What that would represent is a traditional shot at any nondescript spot would do 15, but one very well placed at the base, let's say, of the creature's spine or neck might do exponentially more.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm advancing it, and even though frickin' Billy is leaping in front of my shot with this thing.
Of course he
Fortunately, I've got this this awesome this HUD like targeting thing that's showing me exactly where to shoot, and like I just start shooting around him at this hulking creature behind him. So I'm like, head down, and so now is it just a single shot, or is it like?
For ranged weapons, and yours in particular, it's meant to be in single shots. There are rules to accommodate for multiple firing, fully automatic, semi-automatic bursts, but this particular weapon is a futuristic weapon that just gives one horrible energy beam at a time.
Sweet. Oh yeah, it says single.
Yes.
Well, if you yell "get off" and I turn and see a big gun coming out of your hand, I'm jumping out of the way.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be a meat shield for this thing.
Just give me a clear shot here. And so, it's like the targeting thing is like bouncing around trying to avoid Billy, trying to find the weak spot, and it's and I'm going to just spend it all. So
do it.
I actually have it. One cap gives me +2 damage on the thing, so it's spending all 13.
Wow.
It's 26 on top of the 15 base damage. So it's like a whole mess. It's like, what, 41?
Sounds good to me. Let's see.
By math.
Well, the pen's good, but the futuristic hand cannon's probably
Apparently it's better.
A little bit better.
Yeah.
What's the old saying? Never bring a knife to a gunfight, right? Well, don't bring pens to cyber warfare. That's all.
Apparently, yeah.
That's right. So I'm getting it, right in the mouth if I can.
He'll look, targeting, put him just to the side of leaping Billy, and that instant that the shot becomes lined up just right, the firing goes off, and it strikes the Reaver, not quite on the side of its face, but in the back region of its neck and head, and a huge portion of that monster just dissolves away, spilling out into a black mist into the air, just dissolving. Was it enough to put the beast down? Not completely, but it had to cause some functional problems. It can't be that this nightmare can keep going with half a head.
That's right.
That
Okay,
brings Jerry.
Finally.
Come on, muscle man, show us what you got.
All right. Well, we're still applying the ward.
The ward you don't have to take any problems with penalty-wise, but it will protect Abigail. That's who you put it on, right?
Yep,
Okay. You know what to do, right?
I do.
Ah, look at you. How far you've
I
come.
think. Oh wait, I lied. I don't know what to do. What skill do I use for magic?
It's your shaping score.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh dear.
Now, if you know where reaction is, shaping is in the column to the left of it, at the top of the, well, almost at the top of that column. There's rank, which is your animus rank, and then shaping.
All right. So that is a 1. It's 2
No.
positive rolls in a row.
Look at you.
I know. Plus my shaping, which is 7, so that brings it up to 8.
Oh.
And that's 8.
Alrighty. And the difficulty for, or the target number, I should say, in this case, for shaping, a shaping test for a rank 1 magic is 5. So in your case, you cleared by 3. Yeah. All right. So I'll give you 3 cap to spend on your Eldritch Blast.
All right. It takes 2 cap to do an additional damage, so that's what I'm doing.
Fair enough. And does that put your total at 11?
Yep.
All right. Let me make sure. Never trust the Dreamweaver for knowing all of the numbers, because if I got to make them up or be wrong, I'm going to be wrong in my favor, not yours. So should always double check. All right. So there we have it again. Jerry takes the brunt, snarls a little bit as his armor gets bitten into by a claw, gunfire going off, Billy screaming, a pen in the creature's side, and then he just leans past his own shield and throws a whole portion of magic into the creature's mouth, or what's left of it. And there it is, just splattering a whole bit of the face and watching it dissolve into that weird gray mist as the creature is just unraveling from all sides under your assault. This thing was not prepared for such coordinated aggression. And before you know it, the creature's literally fallen apart. It can't stand up quite right, and it's dissolving into that gray mist everywhere. And in a moment, what was a frightening, potentially life-threatening scene is now just an eerie silence as soon as Abigail finally stops screaming.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to calm her down. And I look very authoritative in this cybernetic police
Get up.
uniform, basically. So, I'm gonna dissolve the gun. Sort of, it kind of hides itself back in the suit, and all right, take it easy, Abby. It's gone. Here, let's get out of this room real quick. Let's not look at that too closely. This frightening gray mist and crap. So I'll just take her out, sort of into the little like recreation area or whatever in this hospital. Sit her down at one of these little drawing tables.
Well, unfortunately for you, you'll get interrupted in that process, because as you're working her out, the orderlies are coming in.
Yeah.
And while they're coming in, Dr. Chin, to his credit, is following them back in. And while he comes in, he sees you and walks right past you over to Jerry. My goodness, you should have us look at that. I have never seen her do something like that. I am so sorry.
Don't blame her.
I can't imagine why you asking a few questions would cause that kind of reaction. But had I known...
No, Doctor, it's not her fault. It's not her fault. Jerry here broke protocol, and I will be talking with him. He touched the patient, and I told him to be careful. But clearly, it just upset her, and it's totally Jerry's fault here.
Well, let's get Abigail under control, and you guys get out.
All right. Look, I think just just get her some medication to calm down, just to relax, and she should be fine. She'll be
I'll,
fine.
I'll worry about my job. You worry about yours. As far as I'm concerned, one of us is doing them well. The other one's having some problems.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, Doctor.
Poor Billy's choking on it.
I am. I am. Both me and the character is like, oh my word.
Well, who knows what Dr. Chin just witnessed? Seems to think that she cut you, or hurt you at least, Jerry, but that is the way it works. In the Doubt's mind, maybe Abigail flipped out, broke the glass, cut Jerry's leg. Nothing to see here. But the three of you will be ushered out. They want you guys to get out of there as quick as possible. You're disrupting their merry little world. And it's awkward in there in the hospital.
Okay. Now, if I understand correctly, what we're supposed to do is once we defeat the physical manifestation of the doubt in the real world, then we have to defeat it at its source. So basically, in the dreams of the person
Yes.
that it came from.
As a source of metagaming, if you will. Yes, Reavers can be defeated in the waking world, but they still exist in the mind or heart of the dreamer that they're born from until that anima deals with the Reaver and defeats it in his own nightmare, in his own dream. That Reaver will incessantly come back. And that's the problem here. Where did that thing come from? If it's Abby's, you're going to have to beat it in Abby's dream. If it's somebody else's, you better find that someone else and beat it in their dream, because that thing surely is not going to stop, and it is not safe.
Okay.
Just ask Jerry's leg.
Does this indicate that? Well, if Abby is the source of this Reaver, that means that she is an animus as well, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That would mean, yeah. Reavers conventionally are the byproduct of the doubt trying to stop an anima. So they would have to be an anima to have a Reaver of their own.
Gotcha. In that case, we definitely not only need to defeat this Reaver, but we need to reach out to Abby and get her hooked up with this support system.
If that's the case,
Right,
then.
guys?
So we're sure she's not a dreamer. She's one of us.
Well, we don't know for sure, but if the Reaver was obviously interested in her and like the people around her, so it's pretty likely. Unless it was your Reaver and there's something you're not telling me there.
No, I'm good with it being hers. I didn't do it. It wasn't mine.
Yeah, but if she was one of us, you think she would have reacted a little bit differently to, the cyber cop in the night and Mr.
Well,
Monster.
she was pretty freaked out, it seemed. She doesn't really know what's going on yet.
So you guys
Okay.
have done this before. We just have to, go in dream state and help her out? I mean, what are we doing?
Okay, I didn't say I've done this before. All right, I said I know what we should
You're
do.
the one in charge. I thought you knew about all this stuff.
Well, look, this is my first field mission too. What do you want from me?
Okay, sure. Okay, you're right. Too much pressure on
to
you.
remind Jerry that his leg is still bleeding.
Oh, yeah.
He's in a lot
We're
of
sitting there
pain.
having a conversation, and
So-
Jerry's bleeding to death.
While they're debating, you might want to remind them that your leg needs attention.
As we're walking back to the car.
Yeah. We got a first aid kit or something?
Actually,
Okay, look, I took some first aid training. I'll get Jerry patched up here. Like,
You may not. Excuse me. You may not need to. I can see Billy searching carefully.
yeah, I am.
oh, okay.
What have you discovered?
The healing stuff, the herbs, the hunter's natural.
That's right.
Oh,
Okay, I was like, wait a minute, I thought I read something about healing. So I'm
Why
bringing
don't you go ahead and read it to them so they know what you're talking about.
Okay, effects may be applied to any wound, causing it to instantly heal. That might be helpful.
Yes. Now, metagame, Billy has what we call an artifact, an item that has literally been taken from a dream into the waking world and remained after he took it with him. This particular item in his dream, where he is a legendary and mysterious monster hunter, he borrowed, quotations and all, a healing poultice, an alchemically prepared bandage that, when applied in the waking world with a little bit of conviction, will magically heal wounds. So Billy is capable of treating this on his own.
I will spend I spend 5 conviction, right? I will
Correct.
spend the 5 conviction and heal my my ally there.
All right, so Billy climbs in the back seat, wraps that poultice on the wounded leg, maybe gives you a grim look once before he starts willing the magic to work, and then you're going to feel your leg stitch rather painfully itself together. To his credit, Jerry's tough, bites down hard, and only makes a mild groan while the leg stitches itself back. And
But a tough groan. Urgh.
yes, very, very macho while his leg is hurt. Good for Jerry, because I never groan like that when I'm in pain.
No, I cry.
Yeah. So, the leg will be good as new when it's all said and done. And that will leave you short 5 conviction.
Okay, so as I understand it now, to enter the dream of somebody, they have to be like, we can do that through dream walking, but they have to be asleep to enter their dream.
Yes, they do.
So we've got a little while. We got to wait for Abby to fall asleep before we can get in there and deal with this thing, right?
If that's what you choose to do, yes, you'll have to wait either until Abby sleeps, or you'll have to force her to sleep if you'd like to go and peruse her dreams by dream walking.
Do we have anyone else that we consider suspicious? Or she's pretty much our only lead at this moment.
Well,
Maybe.
she did mention a James.
Oh, it's true.
So if we do have a while before she drifts off and whatever medication they're giving her kicks in, we could always check on this James guy.
You could.
Yeah, it's worth a shot. I'm going to report in to Mr. Masters.
I will be right back. I need a quick bio break.
All right. Seems like a good time to take a break, actually.
I'd say. You're going to make a call to Masters if you need to take a quick restroom break. That's a good time for it.
Yeah. Cool. So let's get back in like 5 minutes or so.
That's
Okie
fine.
dokie.
All right.
And everyone's gone. I'm all alone.
It's break time.
Oh, okay.
They wanted a few minutes to follow your lead for breaks.
I'm just a trendsetter. I'm like, hey guys, I want a break. And everyone's like, hey, we can't resist to follow this guy.
Apparently.
We decided it was a good idea, good opportunity. Cool.
So, since you guys are actually sitting here and we're stuck at a pause, mechanically speaking, everything for the playtest is set up to be as mild an exposure as possible. This story was written and designed so that it can be told in this kind of medium with a minimal amount of crunch so as to not ruin the experience for new players. But for people that might be watching this, yourselves included, if you take the actual PDF, it gets into the crunch of it pretty extensively. And so if you wanted to read it through, you could tell this very same story using quite a bit of actual mechanics and getting really involved in them. So if it seems that I'm kind of brushing through some of it, I am, because one of our players is just first getting exposed to it, and a lot of that is tedium, I feel, for people that don't understand what they're listening to have to really listen to crunch. But I do want to make you, as players, and anyone that should happen to watch it, aware that that isn't because there isn't any. It's like that on purpose, for test purposes.
Yeah, I think we should show off at least one test kind of outside of the combat, so just to see what kind of stuff you can do with it, because there's all kinds of different ways to spend your cap and modify things. So
yes, actually there are two throughout the test story actual written out examples of how cap could be used through something, and I'll give you a good example of it right before the end, so that you could see it like that.
Awesome.
Hold on one sec.
Okay. Cool. Let's see.
Sorry.
No worries.
Okay. Whenever you guys are like, we can continue.
Yeah. So I don't know if we need to play out this conversation with Masters, but I just want to, get on the phone and let them know that we're going to be trying to take out this Reaver, and we've narrowed it down. It's either Abby or this guy James. So that's where we're at.
Well, there's key things for the conversation are just to remember to take it easy in case whoever it is, they're new, to remember it stinks being the new guy.
Oh, yeah.
So try and be sensitive of that. And the other thing is be careful with dealing with a Reaver, especially on its own turf. You never know what you're walking into when you're stepping into someone else's dreams, and there aren't always good ones when they're nightmares. So.
Yeah. All right.
Now, this guy, James, you say, that's the kid that Abigail mentioned. But that's, as far as I understand it, all we know. So I don't think any of you are planning on walking around suburbia yelling in the streets for James.
Nope.
So where does that leave us with your plan here?
All right, Billy, why don't you get on the Facebook and
Facebook? Yeah.
Not Facebook.
see if you can find Abby Michaels, who goes to whatever, that high school.
I'm on it. There's better places than Facebook, but don't worry. I'll find it. So I searched the social medias and
Dig
the
around.
Twitters, the Tumblrs, or whatever there is now, and
Now, here would be an excellent example to show you how CAP might be used for a non-combat situation. This is, of course, such an easy task in reality that this is completely unnecessary. So I'm just going to walk you through this so you understand, and anyone watching would understand what would happen. Now let's pretend for a moment that we were going to we were going to actually take this ability test like normal. I would say Billy has computer use as a particular skill. It isn't even so much a test of his actual computer use as it is an investigation. So let's end up saying he makes an investigations ability test. And his ability test yields him 6 cap. I'm just making it up. We're going to skip the details of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in this particular case, I would tell you that your base success here for this ability test is going to be finding out if there's any connection to Abigail Michaels with a guy named James. Base success will tell you there is or isn't a connection, and if so, what the basic connection is. Now, what I might do with CAP for this particular purpose is say to you, all right, you have at your disposal 3 different CAP adjustments for this ability test. The first cap adjustment, for every 1 cap that you spend, you will expedite your search by 10 minutes. So if I tell you that the basic search is going to take you an hour, I'm just making this up, then every additional cap you spend, you can lower that search time by 10 minutes till the search is nearly instantaneous. You just happen upon it right away. You devote the large majority of your effort to doing it as quickly as possible. Now, I could also say your second cap adjustment is for each 3 cap that you spend, you will also learn a vital piece of information about this kid, Michael. Or, how should I put this to be? James, not Michael, my apologies. But let's just say a vital piece of information, for argument's sake. And then I would say that your third cap adjustment is a cap adjustment that will be 5 cap and tell you if there's any connection between James, Abigail, and Pete beyond the obvious. So why I would do all of this would be to ask you, as the player searching, what are you really devoting your effort to? Are you worried more about how quickly you do the search? Are you worried more about how much information about James you find? Or are you worried to find out what James's role in this little ruined love affair is? Basically, it's giving you the option of dictating exactly how your efforts are going to come to fruition. Now, to put it in context, what happens if this is what I made you do while you were on your way to the hospital, trying to find out, let's say, information about Abigail? If I told you the trip was going to be an hour long, and you knew the search was going to be an hour, shortening that time might give you time to make a stop for coffee. Might give you time to swing by your hotel room and pick up a weapon. There are functional reasons why your decision might have ramifications. There might be a reason why you'd want more time or less time spent, why you'd want more information or less information. So that's what CAP is going to allow you to do in non-combat situations, and how significant that is going to be based on the situation at hand. In this particular case, it's irrelevant. It's going to be no effort for Billy to find out who this person James is, and there is only one piece of actual valid information. So for this particular test, there are no cap adjustments. Once you succeed, you'll know who James is, and that's the only relevant information here. But in a different scenario, cap lets you have quite a bit of options and quite a bit of narrative control as both a player and a Dreamweaver.
A bigger, or another example in this scenario is like frequently talking to people and trying to find out information from them.
Sure.
Requires, you can spend cap to do various things with them, right?
We've had quite a bit of playtests with lots of different interesting scenarios. I actually had one Dreamweaver tell a story to me where I was playing a detective who was investigating an office building, and what he did with the cap is allot a cap cost to each different portion of the office building without telling me what of value was in each area. So my investigator could choose to search the boss's office desk for 4 cap. It didn't mean there was anything good or bad in it, just that it was going to take that much effort to get through his whole desk. But did I want to spend 4 cap on the desk, or did I want to spend 2 on his closet and 2 in the bathroom? Or did I want to spend all 4 on the desk? And that was the game that became, being played was, am I using my cap intelligently? And then, of course, time was an issue because I was breaking into the place. So did I want to spend more cap to move along quicker and not get caught? Or did I want to spend it, that is the crux, if you will, of the cap system, to give you those kind of scenarios and those kind of mechanisms to really let them shine.
Very cool.
That said, right. Why don't we proceed?
Yeah, so we figure out this James person, and I guess we want to go talk to him and just see if he's mentally disturbed, so to speak, or the doubt is messing with him somehow.
Okay, so let me give you the rundown, Billy. Won't take long to find James because James Baker is listed as Abigail's current boyfriend. It'll be there, right there, to be found on Facebook and any form of social media that you track her down. It's an obvious, easy connection. And James Baker attends the very same high school that they do, and even a moment on his social media will tell you that he is a rather talented artist. And if you remember, Abigail did mention something about her boyfriend, who was an art student, warning her about this terrible thing happening.
I'm pretty much swearing what I would.
You're pretty sure that you found the right guy.
Okay. Any obvious giveaways in his art that he's posted up?
It's a good question, and no, he doesn't have anything posted on any of the art that he's done that would immediately jump out at you as, oh, this is who we're looking for.
Yeah.
It's all
No
pretty
giant,
nice work, but unrelated.
no giant nightmare hounds or anything.
No, not on any of the sites that you looked at or any of the stuff accessible online.
All right.
So it won't be particularly difficult to find the listed address for James, and that leads you to finding his actual home.
Okay.
That is the Baker residence. Again, very close to the school, and possible to jet on over if someone wanted to from school to this house and back and forth. So it's possible that James actually walks his way home as well.
Yeah. Realizing that, a quick question: was this guy one of the witnesses who the police questions?
No, he wasn't. Actually, he's not
Okay.
listed as a witness, but that is a good
Alright.
question.
Great. Alrighty.
All right, so let me tell you this. The Baker residence is a small, two-floor detached home. It's the picture of middle-class suburbia. Just like the corner of Emery Place, kind of blends in, a well-kept lawn, the block otherwise quiet, but this particular home has a teenage boy seated on the porch. He's got messy brown hair, a vintage denim jacket, and he's got a big backpack sitting next to him, probably full of his school books. And he's sitting there, face down, sketching with a grim determination. It's probably James Baker.
Perfect. Does one of you want to take this, or should I go ahead?
Why don't you do the honors?
Right. Got this. So I'm gonna get out. We'll pull up on the curb, and I'll step out of the car and just call. It's like, hey, do you know where this tourist hospital is, by any chance?
When the boy looks up at you, he kind of stares as if he's gaining his focus, looks at you for a minute, and then, yeah, I know where it is. You got a ways of a drive, though, from here.
Oh, well, sorry to disturb you there. Looks like you're busy, but see, we're kind of in a hurry. We heard there was some kind of problem over there, and got a bit lost. So what's the fastest way from here?
Wait, what do you mean there was a problem there?
Well, I'm sure it's fine. We just need to find the place.
Wait, are you police? James
Something
already
like that.
standing up, holding his pad next to him, and making his way down the walkway to the street.
Well, something like that. We're actually investigating something that happened there, but why? Do you have some information? Do you know what's going on there?
No,
It's a small town. I mean,
I didn't-
maybe you heard something.
It's the first thing I'm hearing is that you said that there's something happened there. I mean, I have a friend, well, I mean a girlfriend really, that's there, but somebody get hurt at the hospital?
Um, no, nobody was hurt. With a sly glance to Jerry in the car. No, everybody's fine.
One was hurt, just Jerry.
Yeah. But listen, there seems one of the patients there's some kind of disturbance, and we're being sent there to help out, just to help figure out what's going on.
Listen,
Who is your girlfriend there?
James just kind of looks around, sees that there's no neighbors near, and he leans in and says, "Listen, lady, if you go to that hospital, do me a favor. Check in on my girlfriend. I know she's there at the hospital, but make sure she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Her name's Abby. Abby Michaels."
Okay. And why do you think there's might be something going on with her?
Lady, you wouldn't believe me even if I told you. Just do me a favor. Just make sure she's okay. If you're going anyway.
All right. Well, what should I look for?
He kind of makes a face, and he turns the sketchbook and faces it out towards you. And there's just a picture of the Reaver sitting upright on Abigail's bed, right at the foot of it, staring at her, and her kind of backpedaling into the wall of the hospital room.
Okay.
You know, anything bad like that.
All right, and I'm gonna step aside so you guys in the car can see this picture. It's like, all right, this guy knows what's up.
Okay.
Listen, let's see.
One thing I should impart on you is,
Yeah.
Jerry, he'd probably notice it right away, and maybe even Billy for that matter. Maybe it'll come a little slower to Nicky, but
Yeah.
James is exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
He's so exhausted that it's actually obvious. He's got dark circles under his eyes. He looks maybe a shade too pale for what's natural for him. He's drawn looking. He's beat up and tired, and it shows. And for a teenage male his age, you have got to go many, many nights without sleep to look that bad. To look tired like that, you've got to be having a rough time. And to the men, they're going to know instantly, this kid looks like poop. He is having a tough time.
Can I try something?
Sure.
Now,
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
All
I'm
right.
just kidding.
No. My question is, if he was one of these people who are waiting to be awakened, if one of us transformed, would he see us in our transformed state?
That's a little bit of a loaded question.
Okay. Is that a question that the characters would know?
Yes. The answer to your question is, if it was before he woke up, probably not. He wouldn't see.
Okay.
But if he was one of you, from day one, he would see you transform. Like that's once the veil has been pierced, it will not go back again until you willingly surrender to the devil. And that is a whole process that we don't need to discuss at this moment.
Okay.
But essentially, when the doubt wins, you are ruined from then on out, and you will never see magic that way again. But that is not a pleasant thing, and no animal wants that. So, yes, if he woke up, he will see anything the way you see it.
Okay. But so doing it right now won't help him. But
Yeah, that's
I definitely want to reach out to this kid. So I'm just gonna for now I'm just gonna give him a business card and just be like, you're not alone, kid. And I'll give him my what's it called? DC.
The DCMA card?
Yeah, DCMA. That's right.
He'll just take the business card and look down on it, look it up at you once with these sad, pathetic-looking puppy dog eyes, and
Yeah.
mutter under his breath, "Thank God."
Okay. Quick, quick side discussion with you guys in the car. How do we figure out if it's James or if it's Abby?
Well,
That's
that
the
wasn't
problem.
a
Because he
bad
looks almost
idea
as bad
that
as her.
Writ-
You know?
yeah, that wasn't a bad idea that Unwritten brought up.
Yeah, I was hoping that. I mean, if he sees, that's the one thing I was wondering. If he's seeing if he's seeing the monster, the Reaver or whatever it is, would he be able to see us? But
Yep.
so if
Without,
he's seeing the Reaver, he could see us transform.
without a doubt.
Oh, he could. Okay.
Okay.
The only way he wouldn't see it is if he has not yet become an anima, in which
Okay.
case he wouldn't be the source of the Reaver, because only an anima can create
Oh.
one. Or
Okay,
if he
I
gave in willingly and was broken by the doubt, then he would never see anything the same way again. But that probably isn't the case.
Okay. Because my idea was to, after seeing this guy so exhausted, would be to get out of the car, start walking towards him, and as I'm calmly walking towards him, just start transforming and see if he reacts to.
Yeah.
Sure, you could do that.
Okay, so that's what I'll do. I'll be like, I'm gonna be right back, Jerry. Slam the door, and be like, I got this.
Yeah.
Start strolling up the sidewalk and start transfer. He's like, hey kid, and as soon as I get his attention, I just start
Yeah.
the transformation process.
So he's
You've
just
got
going to
to.
look up at Billy and just mutter, "Holy sh!"
Yeah. Listen, you've got friends here to help you with these things. So I hand him the card and I'm like, pointing to this guy. I know he looks a little creepy, but
Thanks.
he's on our side.
Wait a minute. You aren't going to the hospital, are you?
Ding, ding, ding.
We just came from the Oh, dang it.
So, you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that Abigail's in danger, right?
Yes.
Thank God.
And now you know what I'm talking about when I say we're going back to help her out. So
Oh, I thought I was going crazy.
if everything goes to plan,
You're just as screwy as I am.
Oh, what are you talking about? Do you see this? This isn't screwy. This is awesome.
That's awesome. Let me show you what I see. And he turns the picture back towards you. That's not awesome.
Okay, yeah, that part's not the coolest, but
Yeah.
listen, tomorrow, well, tonight I want you to get some sleep. Number one. Number two, tomorrow, go and see Abby at the hospital. And after that, I want you to call that number on the card, and we'll get in touch.
So you're going to explain to me what's really happening to me? Is that what this is about?
Yep. But first, we're gonna help your girlfriend. Oh wait, actually, wait. He's an anima though, so he might be the source.
Could be.
that was my thought. If he can see me
Alright.
transform
Yeah.
and he can see it, then he's probably the anima.
Get some sleep tonight, kid. That's
We'll see in your dreams, and we'll be back.
that's an order. All right. So we may have
So-
to check out both of them.
Do we want to explain it to him, or we just want to all of a sudden be there when he falls asleep?
He's worried enough. We'll
Well, I think now is probably a good time for John to explain how Reavers are actually defeated.
Well, like I said, if he is the source and he's the root of the evil, dispelling the Reaver from the waking world is step one. Like you said, we are going to have to go into the actual nightmare and defeat it on its home turf. The risk of that is you never quite know what you're going to find when you go into an actual dream. The other risk here is delaying. The longer you stall, the more of the possibility this Reaver might recover and not be restrained exclusively to dreaming. Now, does that mean you have to hurry up and deal with it right this second? Not necessarily. But the only way to get rid of it and to make sure that no one else is going to fall victim is to get into the source's dream and stop it there. If this kid James is the source, you're going to want to take that opportunity as soon as you can get it, because better to put it down now than to let it be a problem later. It might not be climbing in the hospital window next time. It might be climbing in your window.
Yeah.
So,
we still don't know if it's James or Evan. I was thinking, we could wait until they're asleep and then
Sure.
check it out. And I think if James isn't the source, then we don't need to make him even more worried, right? Like,
true.
we want him to go to sleep tonight so we can check it out ourselves.
Peacefully. Could be done. Yeah. However, you don't also have an advantage here. If he is one of you, he can sleep whenever he wants.
Right. So, okay. I see what you're saying.
Now, something else that I should explain specifically. Entering a Reaver's nightmare is something that the home anima, the source, can do on command. Just like dream walking can be done by any anima. When an anima has a Reaver attached to them that they created, they can enter that nightmare whenever they wish. Instead of dream walking, they simply enter the nightmare within. It's only within, of course, if it's been pushed back out of the waking world, which you have successfully done. So if this kid was the source, you could simply have him backpedal into the dream on command. Then you would simply have to join him. Of course, if Abigail is the source, the same could be said of her, but you need to then be able to get to her to do so.
Okay. Well, do you want to
raid the dream, if you will, but it's much easier if they do so willingly.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll do it that way, I guess. So, all right, James. So we're gonna help Abigail, but in order to do that, we need your help as well. So, I don't know. I'll try to talk him through how to enter the nightmare. I'm gonna say, why don't you make an excuse to your parents real quick?
You don't have to worry about them. They won't be home till late tonight.
Oh, okay.
I'm by myself.
Perfect. Let's
You want to come in, sit down, maybe?
Yeah, you got food?
Yeah, great. Why don't you get comfortable, and we need you to enter your dreams and to help us out. And I'll actually I'll be right back. But
okay.
Go ahead.
So while he's walking up to the front door, he just laughs, opens the door, letting you guys in. Yeah, you want me to intentionally go in there and get tossed around like a rag doll by that thing?
That's the idea.
That is a terrible idea. They pay you to come up with ideas like that?
Not enough. But you're not going to be in there alone. Mr. Monster's going to be with you.
You gonna send an old man to deal with that thing?
Well, and I'll be there, and Nikki will be there.
You haven't seen these guys when they transform. They're pretty tough, man. And I already kicked this thing's... Well, we all kicked this thing's butt in the real world, so...
All right. Listen, it's your lives. You want to throw them away chasing after this thing in my dreams. By all means, but I'm warning you, there has never been a good dream that involves that thing and anyone.
Hey, I think you're probably capable of more amazing things than you could ever imagine. You just got to put your mind to it, dude.
I draw. What am I going to do? Make a picture for it? Maybe
I don't know.
That will convince it to leave me alone.
It means you're a very creative person, and sometimes that's what you need when you're in there.
Yeah, the only thing my creativity has given me is a girlfriend on a one-way ticket to the psych ward. And a dead ex. In case you haven't heard, it mauled a kid 2 weeks ago and killed him in the street. I wasn't there, but I'm telling you, that thing did it. I know, because I can recall every detail from the dream that I had when it happened.
Well, listen, if there's anything that this guy knows, the pen is mightier than the sword, or the nightmare in this case. So, you know, who knows? I have faith that you can help us defeat this thing.
Look,
The power is yours.
I'll be honest with you. You guys are strangers. You look like cops. You have a fancy card. But I don't care. If you told me that doing cartwheels with my head on fire was going to make this thing go away, I'd probably try it at this point. I haven't slept a normal night in weeks. My girlfriend looks like she's been an animal's chew toy. The kid's dead. My life is falling apart, and I'm not even a senior yet. Anything we could do to make this thing go away, I'll do it.
Shh, sleep now. It'll be okay. Now let's pat him on the head. All right, let's do this.
Up in James's bedroom, which is where he's going to lead you, you're going to instantly see the other side of his art collection. The side that doesn't get posted in public. The one that shows pictures of a Reaver throwing Abigail around, mauling him, tearing his dad's heart out. All kinds of grim, horrible imagery, beautifully rendered. Of course, the key thing here is it'll only take a moment to really get an impression of just what this experience has done to this kid. He is picture after picture displaying just how horrifying this nightmare has been to him and to his loved ones. But on the same token, there are pictures showing maybe the greatness, if you will, of just what help would be like. These hellish landscapes with this terrible demon beast, and then those few guardians of light laying down their lives for a little boy James. And man, sacrifice and violence have become the centerpiece of this kid's artwork, and it's plastered all over his walls. The room's just got his bed, an art easel, a desk, and work everywhere. No band pictures, no woman pinups. It's just page after page of the same themes everywhere.
Wow.
And he doesn't need much coaxing. When he lays himself down on the bed, he just turns to look at Nikki and says, "So this means you're coming into my dreams, right?"
That's right. We'll see you on the other side. Transform.
He just looks over at Billy and... No. It's too weird to even say. So weird. He puts his hand over his head, lays back for a bit. And what do you know? Maybe a few moments after he's closed his eyes, a quick nudge by Jerry's foot tell you all you need to know. This kid's like a corpse. He's out.
All right. Doing it.
So, one by one, the animals slip themselves into the dream walk. And we'll find themselves here, in the same room, with the same strange, overcast imagery, that strange taint from the other scenes, whether it be the locker room or the crime scene. This room has housed some horrible conflict. And there's James sleeping. And in the dream walk, all it takes is physical contact from one dreamer to another. And like a doorway, you could step on through. And that's exactly what each of you do, one by one. Put your hand on James's sleeping self, and when you open your eyes, you're going to find yourself in a whole new world. Hell, you're not even really yourselves any longer. For all intents and purposes, you will have become someone new. Those sheets are going to be in the back end of the PDF, for those who don't know. And I am going to explain this new scene that you see. Here we are, in a huge cavern of dry, scorched earth. 3 angelics usher James Baker behind a rock large enough to completely hide him from their nemesis. Several meters away from you is a 12-foot-tall demonic lord brandishing an intimidating sword wreathed in flame. This beast of fire looks down at you, the radiant agents of good, with contempt. It's clear that this demon will not be satisfied until you are all slaughtered, and the human James is dragged into the abyss. For all intents and purposes, you are now your angelic selves.
Wow.
You are Nicariel. You are Bellicor the Quick. And you are Victus the Undying. 3 angelics devoted to saving this mortal boy from the demon that seems to want to claim its soul. To do so, to rid the mortal James of his demonic possessor, he must deliver a killing blow to this demon. You are fully aware of the fact that you have to beat this thing down till it can no longer defend itself, so that James can give it the final nudge to put it down.
Sweet.
Okay? Now, if you don't have it open, perhaps we can link to you the character sheets. Or you can simply scroll all the way to the end of the PDF, and you will see that after your initial character sheets and the pre-game information, there are completely new sheets for your characters. For this particular scene, you're going to be these angelics, hoping to save this mortal. You might want to take a quick look over the sheet and see what's changed. You will see a lot of similarities, obviously, but some pretty cool empowerments, if you will.
All right, so I am Nicariel the Just,
Yes.
commander to the Divine Hosts, and I've got a sweet Sunfire bow and the Mantle of Command,
That's right.
Ivory Mantle, and let's see. Oh, I've also got some sweet plate mail armor and big old wings.
It's true. While you're at it, why don't you present the actual imagery and show them
Yeah.
exactly what you look like.
Let's see. Oop, where is it here? This one.
Now, for a quick bit of metagaming for the scene, each of your characters are representations, if you will, of the characters you're already playing. So, Nicariel is an angelic interpretation of Nikki. In a dream about angels and demons, that might be what Nikki Meeks is in that setting. There are some similarities in the character design. She's a leader. She's authoritative. She, oddly enough, uses a ranged weapon, just like she does in her Animus in the Waking World. So there are correlations there. But she could be played as a completely different character, almost built from, scratch, if need be. The same thing would go for Victus, the Undying. Jerry is a rough and tumble guy, but Victus is a stalwart, undying defender of good. The meat shield, for lack of a better term, who valiantly charges in and doesn't go down until he is forced to do so. He has specific traits that give him additional health, better defensive capacities. He is there to literally hold the line while his companions do the deed that needs to be done. And that's a similar, although somewhat enhanced, interpretation of Jerry himself. And then there's Bellicor, who's a representative of Billy. In Billy's waking world, his animus allows him to be a quick, lethal monster hunter. Here, he's Bellicor the Quick, Quite literally, a fast-striking, lethal, sword-wielding angel who's known for giving devastating strikes to enemies before they even get a chance to defend themselves. So you could see how the different dreams give characters the opportunity to, whether it be extrapolate on who they already are, or possibly play something completely different. But each of you have very powerful, very specific combat capacities that you would look to exploit here to put this threat down so that poor James doesn't have something really horrible happen to him.
So what does James look like himself?
Oddly enough, James does look exactly like himself. The important thing to note is that for this scene, James is just a mortal that you're helping. You don't know anything about who you are in the waking world. You don't know anything about Animus or any of that. For all intents and purposes, you are three angelics given the divine order to protect this mortal from a demon.
Okay.
Make sure that he gives the killing blow.
All right, troops. Let's
assume that the demon is not here to negotiate and is not interested in anything you have to say and is just going to look to kill you one by one.
Okay, troops, you know what to do.
Nikki's able to telepathically speak to you because of her mantle.
That's right. So you hear my voice of command as I take off into the sky on my wings, sort of floating, notching my bow, and I say, let's take this guy out and make sure the boy is safe.
Yes, let us engage in battle. Give
All right, so back to the crunch. We're going to have to determine order. You remember how to do that. Everyone's going to make a reaction ability test, the demon included.
Okay. Oh, man. Not rolling well tonight.
It's a tough night for the players, I tell you. All right, so how do we make out here?
So I have 8 total.
What was that?
I have an 8.
Oh my God! That's go, Jerry. That can't be. You can't.
I'm just here
No.
for entertainment.
Wait, what did she get?
So she got
I rolled
Ouch! Oh, that hurt.
a 9 under, only 1 over,
Fine.
so almost the worst possible.
Almost the worst possible.
so close.
I got a total of what ends up being 4. I got a 9 over and a 5 under.
Okay, so combine it with
Which stat am I combining it with again?
reaction.
Reaction. Wow, you have a reaction of 18.
Wow. Okay.
You are quick.
Wow, that's 22.
Yeah.
Let's assume that when the divine hosts of this dream call one of their soldiers the Quick, that
Quick.
Yeah.
he's earned it. Fortunately, no one's calling this demon the Quick because my reaction was a 5. So
Oh, thank goodness.
yeah, I did not
Okay.
roll well at all.
The quick question. Jerry's also total of 5. What's the
There's actually
tiebreaker there?
2 mechanics for tiebreaker.
Actually, I have a total of 3.
Oh, my bad.
ooh,
My bad.
get you. You just think that bad.
It's okay.
Never
All
mind.
right. So I guess that puts the order as the following. It would be Billicor as the highest, then Nicario, then Demon, and then Victus. So the slowest person declares first. That would be Victus.
I'm going to be taking defensive measures.
Would you like to explain what that means?
So basically, Victus can't make any, I think AT is attack tests,
Ability tests.
ability tests, for this phase, but I get a +5 bonus to all defensive ability tests using my
Correct.
shield.
Any defensive test that you make, you get a bonus because you're playing 100% defense, not looking to gain any advantage to strike, just to protect.
Yep.
So he's
And
stalling.
I can, so I can also intercept any attacks that are coming. towards the kid.
Right. He also has a specific trait that allows him to intervene if someone near him should be the victim of an attack. Victus will valiantly step in front and ensure that his charge is not killed. Before he is, that is. Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
I appreciate the vote of confidence.
Well, you are called the Undying, so we've got to hope that they were correct about that one, too. All right. Next would be the demon. The demon is completely unconcerned with you insignificant peons and is just going to swat the first fly that comes near him. So I would assume in that case it's probably going to be Victus, since he would be making an effort to draw the attention. He's literally trying to be defensive here. So I'm just going to say the demon would take the bait because he sees no reason to be afraid and just devote his attack towards Victus. Next would be Cariel. What's she doing for this case?
So Carl is sort of takes to the air above the demon, and from this high position is going to fire her Sunfire bow and try to, or at least, actually maybe. Let me see. Is there some kind of like aiming thing I could
How you want to know how it actually works?
and kind of like build up advantage first?
It is written into the sample rules, that actual specific topic. For instant actions, if you wanted to take a specified shot, like a called shot, where you wanted to intentionally hit a precise location, like an eye or a throat, you would need to make what's called a declared action. Because of the way CAP works, you have to intentionally make the shot for that throat from the word go. You can't afterwards decide that the effort was devoted to hitting the throat. You have to decide that when you go to make the shot. So what a declared action does is stipulate that your cap is devoted only to that purpose. The problem with that is, if you take an instant action and make a declared cap adjustment, like called shot, and then cannot afford to pay for it, you just flat out miss. So there's a high risk, high reward to that effort. So that's up to you. Declared shot adjustment is, I believe, 10 cap. So you have to pretty substantially be confident that you're going to hit this thing and hit it well.
Let's see. Use your +4 to all. Just once. All additional arrows bypass target's armor. Oh, okay.
Yes, the follow-ups.
Looking at this bow, actually, I probably just want to shoot it first, because then I can penetrate its armor afterwards.
Correct.
So, never mind. Although it's good to know, I might take a call shot to disable it later on. Yeah, so I'm just going to shoot it.
Fair enough.
In the face.
If possible.
Yeah.
That leaves us with Billikor.
Okay, now, Mr. Dreamweaver, I have a question. What does this thing look like?
There's a great picture of it,
Is
actually.
Like, where is it?
Pretty cool artist did for us.
Yeah, let me take a look at that.
You can display it. That's a good...
Share that thing. Oops. Give me a second here.
What page is that?
What number is it on?
That's 28. The top of 28.
28. Yeah, the top half of the page.
So it's pretty good there. Whoops. There's the three of us. There's that massive demon guy.
Yeah. So this thing is huge.
Holy cow.
Yep.
Alrighty. Talking Belrog-like size here.
Correct.
Massive. Alrighty. Alright, now let me look at this. Okay, I will take to the sky with my massive wings, draw my double blade swords out, and I will just charge towards it and trying to slash towards this creature's wings.
Okay, so you're going to see if you can intentionally start disabling it.
Yes, that is the
Now,
goal.
there's a great crunch detail. In the sample rules, there is something called target priority. Whereas Nicariel was asking about hitting an exact target with a called shot, what you're actually trying to do is make sure you hit a specific vicinity. You don't really care exactly where in the wings you're hitting it, just that you're hitting the wings, as opposed to maybe hitting its foot or its face. For that purpose, there are rules that specifically explain what that's like. It basically forces you to decide how big the area is that's acceptable to you. In this case, the wings are tremendous, so it's a very large area, so it imposes only a small adjustment to your normal process of attacking. And the rules specifically give you a guideline for what that means. In this particular case, what's going to happen is base success, which is normally awarded to you by winning an ability test, is actually a 3 cap value. So anytime you win a test, you're immediately awarded by free, if you will, or by a gimme, because you won 3 cap for base success. Why we stipulate that is because sometimes you can get to base success over the course of multiple phases, and you don't get it by straight up winning. Why I'm pointing that out is because prioritizing a large target area increases the cost of base success by 1. So now, winning the test gives you 3, but you'll need to add 1 cap of your own to base succeed. In addition to that, any cap adjustments you buy when you're prioritizing a big area also have their cost increased by 1. So not only will base success cost you 4, but any adjustment that you add will cost you 1 cap more than it normally does.
Okay.
So that's what happens when you're trying to prioritize a very large target area. Now, if it was a small area, like let's say only his left arm, those numbers would increase accordingly, making it more expensive to levy advantage against those smaller areas. Now, I should point out this to you, in case you're not aware, but Bellicor has a very powerful technique that's available to him now.
The twin blades?
Not the item, the actual, his strike.
Oh, quick strike.
Yeah.
Agility 8, sword plus. Ooh. Old Bellatrix. Oh, that's not bad at all.
You understand what it says?
I believe it's saying that I can spend conviction to add a +3.
You can, if you want to increase your phase, but increase your reaction rather, but why that's important to him is because any target at the start of the phase that he has exceeded their reaction by 5 or more, he can make a strike against that target that they cannot defend.
Which could lead to me getting caps.
Lots
if
of
they can't defend.
Right.
Okay.
Now you see the method to this madness. When
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing
you
it.
attack the Reaver, it was unable to defend because it doesn't operate that way. It simply will not defend itself. But in this case, this demon will. But you're capable of acting so quickly with your first strike in a phase that if you beat him in reaction by enough points, you can actually attack him so quick he doesn't even get a defensive test.
Now, here's my question. I get 100 conviction to start out.
Yes.
Why wouldn't I just spend as much of that as possible?
You could, but in this particular case, you don't have the option of repeatedly spending this. In other words, you can only do that once in a given phase. It specifically states that in the description.
All right.
Well, fortunately, you already beat him by enough.
Yeah, you don't even need the 3 bonus. You're already way past him.
Okay.
So you might as well use that to just attack right away and go for the wing or whatever.
All right. Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Can't defend.
So you're going to get an undefended ability test with your twin blades of Ethraziel. So go ahead and make your ability test with your dual swords. Now let me point out, because this isn't a character sheet, the attribute is not added to the dual sword skill already for you like it would be on your sheet. So why don't you use your agility, since speed is obviously his MO, and add your 9 agility to his dual swords of 16.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not cooked in there for you, because this is an NPC sheet. It's not a player's character sheet. I didn't add.
Okay, so that gives me a 25.
Correct.
Now, do I roll the up and over?
Yeah, the over-under you would roll.
Yeah. Okay, and that is a positive 1.
Yep.
So that gives me a 26.
Yep.
Okay. Now, am I just now? Is there anything else I can add to this?
There
or
is.
This
I'm
okay.
going to explain the next piece of crunch that we didn't really have to address because we were dealing with pens in the first scene. You'll see that your twin blades have a threat rating, and it's another of Dreams of Magic mechanism that we're pretty happy with and adds a little bit of flavor to weapons. The threat is a representation of how dangerous a weapon is to a potential target. So your twin swords, because they're smaller blades, they each have a threat of 4, and combined gives you a total threat of 8 when you're dual wielding them. Now what that number is representing is how hard it is to combat against them without getting hurt, essentially. A giant sword that's very heavy might have a threat rating of 10, whereas a kitchen knife might have a threat of 1.
Mm-hmm.
They'll both cut you and hurt you bad if you get cut wrong, but the natural inclination to get hurt when fighting against these two swords is much bigger than the threat of getting cut by a small kitchen knife. If the weapon was, let's say, a really heavy warhammer, the threat might be 15. Basically, any time it hits you, it's breaking something. So that's what that number represents, and how we represent that is by simply adding that on top of your ability test result.
So I now have a total of 34.
Ta-da!
So I'm okay. So now I'm dealing 34 to this guy.
Yeah.
To the
Okay.
wings.
So I start whizzing right towards his face, and at the last minute, he whooshes off to the side and just runs his blades along the wings.
Dealing a crazy amount of damage to
Holy Moses, that's a lot.
Now, on top of your damage, you can also buy these special effects.
Correct. You have some options with your weapons that you can buy. Now, if you look at the list, some of the weapon adjustments it allows is a bleed effect for 3 cap, an amputate for 7 cap, or a decapitate for 10. Now, decapitate, while it would be lovely to end this fight before it began, then poor James doesn't get to do what he's got to do. So that's probably off the table. But amputating for 7 cap could definitely cut a wing off, and that might be very helpful to make sure that he's down and out for James to kill.
Okay.
So,
One thing I'm not. Sorry, go ahead.
I said, you tell me, how are you using your cap, your advantage?
Now, how many cap do I have now?
34.
Okay, so all of that just got turned into cap.
Yep.
Okay.
So try and envision this representation. You just acquired a devastating amount of success. Why? Because Be'lakor reacted so fast, the demon didn't even get to defend himself. That is essentially Be'lakor's MO. Now, if this was a sword fight, that would be one of those scenes in a movie where Be'lakor blinked and appeared behind the guy and his head came off a second later. You know, that's his thing. He does this so efficiently, and that's how the character is built.
Move quickly.
Yeah, now this is a one-on-one context, so this strike could be devastating to the demon. Of course, it is an enormous demon lord. It might not be the end-all for him, but you have options because of how good you are at what you do.
Now, here's my question. Am I limited to 1 amputate, or can I spend 14 and amputate both wings?
Traditionally, you could do as many adjustments as you want, as long as you can pay for them.
Okay.
So if you want to take amputate twice, you could. However, because the amputating would be happening on 2 different sides, as a judgment call, I would tell you that you would need to buy base success twice if you want to amputate twice, showing that you did actually land 2 different attacks. So you could spend 3 to get the first one, and then 7 to cut the wing off, and you could then spend 3 again to land the second attack, and then spend 7 to cut the wing off. And you'd still have 14 cap to spend.
Let's do that. I'll save my 14 cap. Let's take off those wings.
Fair enough.
The blur, just like how you described it. 1 minute he's there, 1 minute he's not. Next minute the wings are off.
Yep.
Go with that.
Yep. Now, if you're not spending the extra 14 cap and you're saving it so that you can control this enemy if need be, then you're going to do base damage, which is Bellicor's strength, plus the 4 from the weapon listing for each strike.
Okay.
And his strength is 5. So you're going to do 18 damage, if my math isn't failing me.
That's right.
And you're going to take 2 wings off, keeping it grounded.
Okay, so he's getting 18 damage and no wings.
Yep. I'd
Okay.
say that's a pretty huge advantage for this combat. So there you go. Now you've learned what cap is all about and why is a good example. You made the judgment call that it was more advantageous to your group, in this case, to lop off 2 wings than it was to deliver a deadly strike.
Mm-hmm.
Someone might have asked me, well, why would I ever not want to do just a ton of damage? Well, here's a good example. If you spent all your cap and cut the guy's head off, you'd have failed this mission,
Yeah.
and you'd be a fool for doing so. But in Bellicor's case, he's able to levy his great advantage using these clever abilities that he has at his disposal to literally ground the enemy, and he's still got a whole bunch of advantage should he need to stick it in the arm and make sure it doesn't reach out and grab somebody before the fight's over. So you'll be carrying your 14 cap over,
Yes,
doing
sir.
18 damage, and lopping off 2 wings. And there you have it. Not a bad opening strike, I'd say.
So
It does just that. The wings come off. This terrible ichor is flying from the stumps. The
Okay.
Demon Lord plops down hard,
Nicarial.
standing on its own 2 feet. And here comes the bow of the sun.
That's right.
Fire!
Bow. Just shooting it, man. Oh, I got -1. Oh, lagging out. Okay, got -1 and short bow 16 and agility, so 24 -1, 23.
And the weapon is fired from short range, because you're close. So
Oh, yeah.
what's the target number?
The difficulty is 20, so just got over it. We've
There
got
you
three over the difficulty.
I would just like to point out, you were smart enough to know it was more important to hit the target than it was to devastate it in that opening strike. You would be reaping the benefit of that if this becomes a protracted battle. Had you gone for the kill early, you'd have missed that cold strike, and you wouldn't have hit him at all.
That's right.
The ramifications of your decisions are playing the story out, not the ramifications of your die rolling.
Yeah. Cool. Is there any? Does he get a defensive roll against that, or it's just an instant thing, right?
It's an action, and he doesn't have a mechanism to protect himself from bow strike, so
Sweet.
he's just getting shot. Now, of course, any armor or mitigation that he has will help protect him from the damage, like it did against the wing strikes, but not enough to stop the wings from coming off.
Okay. So I'll just
You had
spend,
4 extra cap. Are you using them for anything?
I have 3, I think. So I might just save them for next time. Is that? Oh no, it's an instant thing. So I just spent
You
it.
have to spend them. Yeah.
So I can do +5 damage with each cap. So that's in addition to my 15 base, it's another 15, so 30 damage. But the real advantage now is that all additional arrows bypass the target's armor until unless it leaves line of sight. So it's kind of like this first arrow is pointing the way past the thing's armor.
Right. And now every subsequent
Lighting
strike,
him up.
light him up.
Starts glowing.
Good.
Actually, I forgot. This bow also gives me a +4 to short bow tests, so I'll do an additional 20 on top of that, I guess.
Minus his armor. Okay. And then it's the demon's retaliation. Now, a mortal would never be able to recover so quickly from that kind of horrible strike. And for those interested, there are actually rules to demonstrate how someone could be hurt or shocked, which I believe is the term that's used. They're not in the sample rules, but they will be in the final product, explaining how a victim of violence could be literally shocked with pain or the ramifications of being hurt so bad and not be able to take their action. In this case, the demon is not mortal and is not shocked by being harmed. So it will continue to act uninhibited. It obviously can't fly anymore, but that won't stop it from swinging its sword at Victus and taking out its grief on him, if it can. That said, I'm going to make the ability test for the demon, which I cannot show you, but let's see here. Ta-da. Clear that. And wow, got lag. Unfortunately, that was a good roll for him. So +5 for his over-under, and that brings his total test result to 43.
Wow.
Yeah. Victus, I hope you're up to the task.
Fortunately, my defensive measure isn't up yet, but that's okay. So I've got a 3, plus I get a +4 for my shield.
Actually, that's not true. You're declaring that you're using defensive measures. Defensive measures is not an instant action, so it doesn't happen exactly at your turn in the phase. It's considered happening throughout the entirety of the phase. So just by declaring that you're using it, it will take effect for you when you make your test.
Well, yay.
That's important.
I like this. I will take it. I will take the additional +5.
You're probably going to need it.
Yeah, it's true. So 3 + 5 is 8. +4 is 12. Plus his strength of 11 is 23. Plus he has a shield skill of 19, so 42.
Look at you. Stepping up. Man. I
So
didn't expect
close.
42.
that close.
Man.
Awfully close, man. So he bested you, but he only bested you by 1. So instead of your crazed angelic friends here devastating their targets, he just squeaked by with enough advantage to make his presence known. So he's going to win the test, which gives him base success, but he's only going to have 1 additional cap to spend, which thankfully should keep him from doing anything too terrible to you. Now his base success was going to be to strike you with his flaming weapon. And his additional cap is going to be spent simply to add some damage. In this case, the base damage was 14. It adds 4 from the extra cap, which is 18, and 5 from the fire on the sword. Now, Nicario has an effect that will help protect you from that fire. I don't know if you noticed that, did you?
Oh yeah. The Mantle of Command, a regal ivory mantle denoting Nicario's status as commander, gives off a faint golden glow and protects those close enough to the wearer from the powers of hell.
Correct.
So we have, everybody standing within 10 meters of the wearer receives resist 5 fire.
Correct.
So,
that'll save you from the flame of the weapon because you are within 10 meters of Nicario. She's above you taking shots. So
That's right.
that'll protect you from that 5 damage. The remainder, however, has to come out via armor. Do you have any armor to protect you from this damage?
I have, excuse me, I have 5 armor, and then I also have my shield armor, which is 8, so I have a total of 13.
Ooh, look at you, you tank. That's great. So that 18 damage is going to be reduced by 13, and it leaves you with only 5. A mere scratch to the Undying, if I may say so. All because of your great shield work and defensive measures. Now, had you been exceeded by, let's say, 5 cap or 8 cap, that 18 damage could quickly have become 30 some odd with the extra cap. All of that would be above your armor, that extra damage. It goes to show you that the strategy is significant. dealing devastating blows is much more valuable to someone like Victus because of all the thick armor. Got to make sure they count. Lots of little ones, not enough. So there you have it. And that leaves you with Victus's defensive measures. So he's not taking an actual ability test. And I think that's the whole phase, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Now, in our system, unless something should happen to change the combat significantly, you just continue with the same order to keep it snappy, and because the flow, if you will, of battle would only change if something dramatic happened, like a new combatant or the surrounding area changing on you. So we would just continue with the same order. So the slow guy declares first. Which in this
I think
case-
we're sticking with defensive measures.
Yeah, it's working well. Next would be the demon. He's now a little perturbed that he's been hurt so bad, but given the speed Bellicor's moving at and the bow shots, he's not convinced yet that it makes a difference who it is he kills first. So he's going to keep swinging at Victus because he just happens to be closest.
okay. I think Nicario will. I think I want to try now that I can sort of get past the armor. I want to try to disable this beast some more somehow, because we're not interested in killing it. We're interested in getting it low enough that Mr. James can kill it, right?
Right.
So I'm gonna try to take out a leg or something.
Okay.
Yes.
So would you like to use a declared adjustment and
That's right.
actually target the leg itself?
Yep.
Okay. So now that adjustment, I'm going to say because the leg is such a relatively large target, and because it's no longer flying, that instead of the generic cost of 10,
Yeah.
I'm going to say that this would be 8 cap instead of 10, because it's a little bit easier of an adjustment in this case. So you've got to not only win, but you've also got to be able to buy this 8 cap adjustment, or you're going to miss outright. Because if you don't hit the leg, you don't hit it all.
And through the mental command, I will also call out to Bellicor, "Make him kneel!"
You are giving your orders.
I live to serve. Let this enemy taste my blades.
Execute the commander's will. What is Bellicor's declared action?
I'm going after the other leg and I'm amputating it.
Okay, so now there's a good example. Now, amputation is simply a cap expenditure available to you with your weapon.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you want to ensure that you only amputate, or specifically amputate that leg, you could go a step further and declare it. Now, you already have an awful lot of cap, and you're rapidly bringing this thing down at the way you're going. It's probably not even necessary for you to go that extra step. You're going to be picking and choosing your targets with the way you've been rocking and rolling. So I don't see a need for you to go further and actually target that one specific leg.
Okay.
And since you're going to be striking first, whatever leg you choose
Is going.
Probably choosing the other one.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
That's right.
all right, then let's just walk right through it. You're first. Bellicor is way ahead in reaction.
Alrighty. Now to run through all this again,
Yep.
I go with. Oh, I'm going with, where is it? I roll my up and over. I'm sorry, my
Over under.
over under. I don't know. Sorry, I said it once and then stuck on saying it.
That's
You
all
get
right.
your dual swords and agility, right?
Yep.
So I add that to my swords.
Right. You have dual swords and your agility combined. Put them.
Okay. So now I gotta back up my character sheet after rolling. My dual swords is 8. My agility is 9.
It's actually
16.
16.
Dual sword.
Wait, what is it?
16. You dual
Why do I
sword.
keep looking at the wrong area? There we go. Yeah, right there. Dual sword, 16.
There we go.
So just for anybody watching, the way it works is you've got several. There's like 9 categories of basic skills, or like sort of fundamental skills, and so you can have like ratings in those. But then also you can specialize in a particular thing. So Bellacore, for example, has weaponry at 8, which is just any kind of fighting with weapons kind of deal. But then he's specialized in these dual swords. He's actually rated 16 there.
The character sheet isn't actually that confusing. I'm actually dyslexic, so I find things get a little more jumbled on the paper than it usually does for other people reading it. So
Well, yeah, if you're legitimately dyslexic, then this could be entirely our fault, because the ordering of the words might be more difficult for you to pick out where the numbers are.
it is a little bit.
It's 100% understandable if that's the case. Believe me.
So okay, that was 16 plus the 8 plus what I rolled, which was a 6. So what I'm at is a 24 plus a 6. That's a 30. If I'm doing my math right.
You are. Just don't forget to add your agility as well.
And okay, and my agility,
Yeah.
which is 9. 39. Okay.
There you go. As you can see, this would be an example of an extremely skilled, very efficient swordsman against somebody that's not prepared to handle him. He's just cutting them up.
Where if he was versing someone else who had an equal level of skills, it would be a different kind of than what's going on.
Yes, of course. The system's designed to demonstrate what would happen if there is a great disparity of skill, and when there isn't, it's a much more strategic pick and choose of cap use. But the system is intentionally created to show that lopsided combatants are lopsided. Is it possible for them to compete? To an extent. Of course it is. There is some give and take numerically with the way the dice work and the way the system works. But 9 out of 10 times, if you're the better combatant, you're going to have a better performance in battle and thus the edge. In this case, you're significantly better, and you're levying your advantages exceptionally well as a group. So
That's funny.
you're winning a fight you should win.
I like
Good,
how,
good.
especially with this sword thing, he's kind of like he's got so much advantage that he's just toying with the guy, right? You can it's like like the master, teaching a student and just messing with him all the time, just doing whatever he pleases.
Sure, this is a well-oiled machine of 3 angels that have served in battles like this before, and they are pressing their advantage, each of their own unique ones, exceptionally well.
Very cool.
This can take it. Maybe if he was swinging at Nicariel, this could turn out a little different for somebody, but he's not.
Yes.
Swinging at Victus, and Victus could take it, and Bellacore could dish it out. And now that Nicariel's marked him, any way he goes, those arrows are going to follow, and it's only a matter of time. They're picking him apart, and they know it.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So 39, I'm hitting them with.
I think it's safe to say that you have
He can
plenty of
defend.
cap now to lob off legs if you desire.
I
He can
will.
defend though, right? This time, because it's
What's
not
that?
the first. He can defend because it's not the first strike.
Can defend. Of course, I'm also reminding you still have the 14 cap from prior, so no matter how this test goes.
Oh
Wait,
yeah.
wait. So I have 14 cap plus whatever cap this
You
guy
earn
isn't
those.
able to defend.
Right.
So he defends, and then whatever he doesn't
If you
beat.
succeed, whatever you have exceeded him by will also become cap and added to the prior cap that you have saved.
Okay.
Your advantage is growing.
Okay.
To you, you get nothing.
Okay. So now he defends.
Yes.
Okay.
So let me see.
Let's hope 39 is good enough.
Wow, this app is not being nice to me. There we go. Whew. That's tough sledding for this demon lord. Here he was, thinking he was going to pick on an innocent human, and instead he's taking a beating. So I'm sitting down at a 35 total. And you got What was it? 37?
39.
39. Yeah, there I am getting beat up on. So you've got your 14 prior, and you've got the difference here. Which
Well,
is
I think
gonna be,
I spent 7, I thought, to go for the leg, to amputate.
but we didn't get to that.
Yeah.
I'm giving you the extra cap that you earned on your.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So you've got your 14. You're going to add the additional cap here that you made by exceeding by, what do you got, 39? So you're beating me
Mm-hmm.
by 4. Is that right? What did I say, 35?
Yep, I believe so.
There you go. It's pick and
Now you
shoot,
have
Billigar.
18
Yep.
left to spend.
You are literally toying with this guy. You're going to spend them for another amputate?
Yeah, he doesn't need those legs.
So it's 3 success, 7 amputate is 10. You won't have the 10 to do it again, but one of the legs is going to come off.
Oh, you're taking off a leg anyways, right?
Well, you're going to take 3 for base success, which is given to you because you won,
Uh-huh.
and then you're going to spend 7 to amputate, right?
Yes. So he's lost 1 leg so far.
Now you have 11 left over, so you will have enough to take another base success
Yeah.
and amputate again.
But you're already going for the leg, right?
I am aiming for the other leg, but
So I will take off an arm.
Fair enough.
Okay.
We're just cutting them up, carving up a turkey right now.
I'm hoping he can just walk up and stab this thing.
No danger involved.
Yes.
Plan.
That's the
Here, he's on the ground. Kick him. Hurry.
That's what's got to be done, then so be it.
Alrighty.
Leg, Billicord just literally dashing back and forth through the sky, carving this demon up. The bowfire came, struck it. Victus stood tall, took a strike, clang once on the shield to make him know that the battle isn't over, and another carve up. Limb comes off, an arm coming off. Now we've got another bow strike coming. That's
Okay.
going to be in a leg. Let's see how that goes.
Not
See if
very
it's
well.
completely
Oh.
pinned down.
6. Now, let's see. Agility, so 24. 28 minus 6 is 22 only. And I needed 20 to hit, and then another 8 to
To make the
get
specific
the
strike.
shot.
So let's assume he goes to fire at the leg, but Billicor's beat him to the punch, and the leg's just gone. The second shot just sails by the empty space and
Nice.
into the dirt.
I was a little too slow.
In this particular
Yes.
case, I would say that the demon would take his swing. Excuse me. But given the fact that he's missing legs, he's missing arms, he's missing 2 wings, this guy's just got cut up. Demon can't sustain this kind of abuse, and it can't even prop itself up correctly anymore. The whole beast just folds backward, first down on its stump, and then back on its actual backside. And once there, Victus was all prepared to show it he could take it. He just doesn't need to. This thing is a lame duck just waiting to be put out of its misery. And
All
Victus,
right.
I'm sure, is happy to give it the last little nudge, maybe with the side of its shield. Push it on over.
Yeah, I've definitely got a
Does,
shield bash.
Why not?
quick rules question though. So you can change, like if events change
Yes, in the actual
before
rules,
your action. Yeah.
you get to make your adjustment when your turn comes, provided that it was not an action that is locked in motion, like a declared adjustment. You know,
Okay.
it's something that you can adjust as long as the opportunity presents itself when your turn comes around. You could, but you declare prior so that that person who has the quicker reaction can make an educated decision.
Gotcha. All right. Go for it, Victus. You know what to do.
Nice.
You know what to do, all right.
Yeah, sure do.
Right back to your old habits.
Okay, so that is a -4, plus my strength, which would bring it up to a 7, plus my shields, which is 26. I think that is it, because everything else I have is defensive.
Well, I don't have a sword arm to parry with, and I can't really dodge while I'm leaning on one stump or on my backside. So I would venture guesses to say that a simple lurch of the body backwards is probably the best defense it can muster. Maybe an ability test using simply its agility, since it doesn't have a related skill, would be fair. And only because this Demon Lord doesn't suffer from wound penalties like a normal mortal would. Otherwise, even that would be too difficult for it to muster. So maybe to save face, again, no pun intended, it's going to lurch backwards and try and avoid the strike. Oddly enough, even though I cannot show it to you, I rolled a shatter.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Right.
tell us about this. What is this mechanic?
For our die system, if the over and the under both show a 10, you've achieved what's called a shatter, a fantastic success that only someone capable of breaking the doubt could have achieved with their skill level. So not only,
Only because it was against Jerry.
of course, not only did Victus
Jerry.
have to walk over and just figure he was going to shield bash and knock the thing over, but the demon is so spiteful, it literally lurches back as hard as it can and flops backwards prone so that that shield could swing wide. Now, a shatter grants a 15 bonus to the ability test. So we would have its unaltered agility plus 15. So let me give you the actual total for argument's sake, just to see if this angry demon bited Jerry enough to make sure he didn't get that face back. Because for humor's sake alone, I gotta know. Here we are, 7 and 15. I'll put you at a 22. And what did you get, Jerry?
23.
So close. I almost foiled your victory bash. So close.
Oh, gosh.
But alas, Victus gets the last laugh. A base success at the very least. Bashes the demon in the face once with that shield, ringing out that noise nice, loud, and clear. And it flops backward hard. I don't think there's a need for an accurate tally of damage at this point, only because I can no longer defend myself. I can't stand up. I can't fly. Don't have a weapon in my hand.
It's just a flesh wound. You can fight through it.
I'm gonna say this demon is good and well defeated. Of course.
Right, yeah. And so
maybe Victus might want to step on the one arm that's still attached and ensure it doesn't move, just to be sure.
I'll swoop down and pick up James, and carry him up to Bellicor, and maybe you can hand one of your swords over, and I'll go and deliver James basically to the standing right on the neck, right on the chest of this thing. I say, finish it off.
The boy just looks up at you, kind of marveling at your presence now that the fear is gone. Just looks down at one of the twin blades in its hand, stares down at the demon who can't even contain the hatred it has for you in its face. It's just contorted, not in anger, not even in pain, just a pure loathing for the fact that you are leaning over it, victorious. James doesn't take the time to think it through or debate. He just gives it one good shove and jams that blade clear into that creature's throat. Maybe once for himself, half the blade deep, but the second thrust was probably for Abby. Make sure it goes down all the way to the hilt.
Okay.
That triumphant look up into your eyes is the last thing you see before you're awoken. Right there, in James's bedroom at the Baker residence, 3 DCMA agents awaken from his nightmare. And when James wakes up, he sits up, completely matted hair sweating profusely, with a smile on his face. Maybe the first genuine smile he's had in weeks.
Perfect. All right. We'll be in touch, James. Feel free to give us a call if you run into any more trouble. But we'll keep an eye on you, and we'll go make sure Abby is okay. We'll tell her. You know what? Tell her yourself tomorrow when you go see her.
Okay. You guys are welcome in my dreams anytime. Get out of my house. I'm going to sleep.
Yes.
With that, he plops himself back and puts the pillow over his face.
All right, team. I'm gonna call this mission successful.
Roll out.
That's right.
With that said, technically, you are victorious. I believe the only thing necessary is your final report.
That's right. Okay. So I'm gonna vote that we drive back to wherever the heck we came from. And on the way there, as we're driving back, I'll call Mr. Masters,
Fair enough.
report in.
So when you make your call, you'll be greeted with, "Speak."
This is Agent Meeks reporting in. We're calling this one a success, sir. We located the animus that was responsible for the Reaver. Turned out to be this James Baker, and give him the address. Say, we'll be keeping in touch. I gave him our card, and we should definitely send some outreach agents in the next couple of days here.
Are the others with you?
Yeah, go ahead, sir. You're on speakerphone.
Are we in agreement here that this kid didn't intentionally do harm to others?
I think so. I mean, he was so terrified by the whole thing that I can't imagine him actually being responsible for it.
Yeah, he's just some poor suburban kid.
It may be that, and this is, of course, the policewoman talking, the trainee talking. Now, it may be that he had some kind of subconscious jealousy issue with Peter, but I believe it. My impression is it was just that. It was subconscious and it was unintentional.
So you're recommending that this kid gets an education and brought into the fold and not be brought in like a criminal. Judgment call time, Nikki. Mickey.
Yes, sir. It's my professional opinion that James Baker should be brought into the DCMA. DCMA.
All right. Listen. Let me just put this out there for you. This kind of stuff happens. I wish I could tell you that field work isn't always going to be like this, that it isn't always going to be terrible, that you aren't always going to find some poor kid accidentally killing one of his classmates. But you said it, all right? He didn't mean it. Unfortunately, if we're not there to reach out to these kids, if we're not there to reach out to these people, then no one is. No one's ever prepared to find out that they were jealous of another guy, and because of it, he got mauled in the street by an imaginary dog and died. I mean, that's just not part of normal adolescent life. That said, That's why we do what we do. If it wasn't for us, if it wasn't for you guys being there in the field and reaching out to this kid James, he'd be losing his mind, and worse, the people around him would be suffering because of it. Peter was the first. A kid died. You may have just saved a whole bunch of others. Maybe Abby was going to be next, or his parents, or him. If somebody doesn't step up to the doubt, eventually it wins. Those nightmares become too much to bear, and we buckle and we cave. It's important you remember that, because every time you go on the field isn't going to be this black and white. Sometimes it isn't going to be clear what that kid was dreaming, or who was responsible, or whether they're actually the criminal. Hell, this was a teenage boy. What happens when you go to investigate and find out that the guy's dreams are the kind of thing that you and I would call a nightmare? And what do you do? What do you do when that guy's Reaver comes knocking? What do you think that nightmare looks like? I mean, the key thing to remember here is it's not always easy. It's not always pleasant. But somebody's got to stand up and fight. And somebody's got to stand up for those who don't know any better and can't stand up for themselves. If we don't do it, the enemy wins. Just remember that.
Well, it looks like this Abby Michaels will be able to recover now. So at least there's that ray of hope.
Take it. You don't always get a win, but when you do, enjoy it. Now get back. We'll debrief official, and I'll see if I can sign that paperwork for you guys. Maybe you deserve to be in the field after all.
All right. Oh, sir. One last thing. Do you know where I could get a short bow by any chance?
Goodbye, Meeks. Hangs up on you.
All right.
And that is the end of Beast at the Door. Bravo.
Pretty cool.
Bravo. So you got through the crunch without a problem too much. You took to it with a little bit of gusto, and you were successful. Maybe even saved a few lives in the process.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Good job.
So this is being Kickstarted right now.
Yes, actually.
A couple weeks, I think. So you should jump on that for sure. And you can check out the sample rules on that Kickstarter page. Should be linked in the description right here. So.
Yeah, you have 1 week actually.
Oh, 1 week.
We're 93% of the way there, so we're close.
Awesome. Yeah, I gotta say the sample rules are pretty cool. I love the all the illustrations in there, and really sets the tone pretty well. It's cool.
Thanks. We worked pretty hard on it, and we had a couple of real talented artists work with us. They were a pleasure to work with, actually, and we think they did a really good job. We were pretty happy with the result, which is why we're doing this. So
I thought the rule system was very unique and very enjoyable. It just wasn't. It felt. I don't know. It was a breath of fresh air, and it was a really good game.
Great. I'm glad you felt like that, man. It's nice to hear, and I'm sure my partner is going to be excited to hear that as well. If you've got anybody that is interested in role-playing games or likes voiceover sessions, we offer sign-ups for them for other people. If you'd like to play test with us, it's right there on our website. You can sign up for it by submitting a form. And if you have anybody that you think would like the project, have them check it out and support. Even if it's just for $1, every bit helps. It's a good thing.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
Thanks for playing.
John.
And yeah, your name is John
Borgese, yeah.
Borgese. Cool. All right.
So
well, thanks,
I'm
John.
one of the 2 authors.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for showing us the system.
No, thanks for having us. This was great. It was really nice to play through, and I had fun doing it. So.
Awesome. And
Cool.
I just want to plug real quick the other Indie Plus Game Night events going on that happened today. So you should go check out Indie Plus on Google Plus, or you can go to indieplus.org and take a look at those videos. So we had like a 13th Age game and some other game that I can't think of right now. Oh, Atomic Robo and all that. So yeah, subscribe to our YouTube and all that. Good. All right. Thanks, guys.
Great.